Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Sterling Heights City Council to order. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, please bless our elected officials. Grant them courage and wisdom to do what is right for all citizens. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right, thank you, Ms. Riska. Can we please have the roll call tonight?
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Mrs. Zarowski?
Here.
Mrs. Koski?
Present.
Mr. Radke?
Present.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Present.
Mr. Yanes?
Here.
Mrs. Yarko?
Present.
All right, council, we need approval of the agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. First item on our agenda tonight is a report from our city manager, Mark Vanderpool. Mr. Vanderpool.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to begin by highlighting a new program for which the city is a part of in partnership with the state, and it's through the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund. The city of Sterling Heights is now an approved vendor of the Michigan Homeowner Assistance Fund program, and this is for individuals who are suffering some sort of financial hardship due to COVID in one way, shape, or form. Even a year or 2, 3 years later, that's what this program is targeted for. So it is funded through the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and there's some significant funding available to households across the state of Michigan. Homeowners with household incomes less than 150% of the area median income, better known as AMI, are eligible. And homeowners who own and occupy the property as their primary residence are eligible. So it's up to $25,000 per household, and it includes covering expenses like delinquent mortgage payments, housing expenses, including property taxes and insurance escrow shortages, delinquent land contract payments, mobile home consumer loan payments, delinquent property taxes, as I mentioned, condominium and homeowner association fees that may be delinquent, homeowners insurance, utilities like gas, electric, water, and sewer, and internet broadband services that may be delinquent. So this is a broad-based program and funds a lot of areas that may be causing some hardship. So we have a link on our website. You can go to our sterling-heights.org main page and go under Community Resources, which is on the first page, and you'll see a link to this program. Simply click on the link, and that will connect you to the state website and the application. It's not too terribly cumbersome, but we do want to make sure that the community is aware of this and that the significant assistance is available to homeowners who may qualify. And continuing on, Mayor, as we've been doing at every meeting, we've been highlighting a board and commission, showcasing their good volunteer work. Of course, we're going to hear from a really important board a little later on with a very exciting awards program this evening. But before we get to that, we want to highlight our Youth Advisory Board this evening. They've been doing some really amazing work, and I'm really pleased to introduce our marketing and communications coordinator, Marissa Russo, who's going to introduce some of the board members and lead us through the presentation of this really impressive group.
Thank you, City Manager, City Attorney, Mayor, and City Council for the opportunity to have Youth Advisory Board before you again to talk about the awesome work that they're doing here in the city for our youth. Youth Advisory Board is a really great boards and commissions, and the fact that we get to highlight our youth involvement in our local government. So here tonight we have Zion Williams and Max Stefanski, who will be going through a presentation on what we've been up to this past year. We just met for the first time, kind of kicking off our 2022-2023 board last month. So we're starting to get some real groundwork for this year. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We are part of the Youth Advisory Board. I'm the chair, Maximilian Stefanski.
Oh, and I'm Zion Williams, the vice chair.
So I have been part of the Youth Advisory Board since the beginning, so around 4 years.
And I've been a part of it for 3 years now.
So the mission statement for the Youth Advisory Board is to develop and promote programs, services, amenities, events, and civic engagement opportunities that make Sterling Heights a more appealing community for those around the ages of 13 to 18. And this year, our numbers of like participants is 13, which is...
Grab the microphone so we can all
Sorry.
hear you here.
Sorry.
No problem.
So this year we have 13 participants. In the beginning of the Youth Advisory Board, we had 20, but it's better suited for us to have 13 participants because we feel like we have better conversations.
So we have mainly 3 ways that we try to make our community better. First is we want to create engagement, and so we try to create involvement between the young residents and the local government. 2, we want to use our voices, and so that means that we'll try to advise city council and city administration on important youth and teen issues. And thirdly, we like to develop and grow. So that means presenting ideas and assisting in development of new programs geared towards youth. So we have 4 subcommittees within the Youth Advisory Committee. Our first one is sustainability, and that is engaging the youth in practicing a sustainable lifestyle. Our second one is mental health, which is increasing awareness regarding the mental health issues among our youth. The third is diversity and inclusion, the one I'm a part of, and it's basically about promoting the creation of safe environments and providing resources for our teens across the city. And lastly, we have local government awareness, which is just educating teens on local government and increasing opportunities to serve and connect with the city.
So some of the things we've been a part of this past year was a trip to Lansing. This trip, I remember, had a lot of city council joining us, and it was a very nice experience to learn about our government as a whole. The civic involvement, community policing, and then parks and recreation. And the last one, non-motorized transportation, which we have been working with the city for the last 4 years too. And it's really cool to see how that type of new idea has developed.
And then some things to see next are more inclusion, of course. So we want to work with more community organizations and Parks and Rec to create a more safe space designed for teens. We want to educate, which looks like working with local leaders and organizations to help educate our residents on sustainable practices to better our quality of life. And then we want to connect, which is continuing to create opportunities for younger residents to connect with our local leaders and city officials. And then lastly, of course, we want to raise awareness, which looks like working with local organizations and professionals to continue to conversate around student safety in schools and just create a strategy on how the Youth Advisory Board can help.
So, Mayor, I just want to thank you and the City Council for first creating the Youth Advisory Board a few years ago and appointing the really impressive members that make up the Youth Advisory Board. You can see the future of this city is in really good hands with individuals like Max and Zion. So I wanted to commend both of you and thank Marissa as well. The group's doing some really good and important work that I know the City Council highly values. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We truly do appreciate and look forward to another good year of working with the Youth Advisory Board. So thank you both.
Mayor Taylor?
Yep, Mrs. Schmidt.
Just one observation. Actually, Mr. Inks is our chairman of the Sustainability Commission, and I would love for your subgroup to maybe get together with our big sustainability group just to knock around some ideas. I think just meeting each other and having the youth, not be part of that board, but just one night hanging out and comparing ideas.
Absolutely.
Good idea. All right, guys, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Keep up the good
you.
work.
Mayor, I have one last item on my report this evening, and it includes another presentation, a really important presentation on the smart public transportation system. Many of you know that the smart millage renewal will be on the ballot November 8th, and we thought it was important to push out as much information as we could about the program, how it impacts Sterling Heights residents, and especially our paratransit program, which is through the SMART system. So with us this evening is the Transportation Riders United Executive Director, Megan Owens, who's going to walk us through the first part of our presentation, and then we're going to hear from our Sterling Heights Recreation Superintendent, Kristen Briggs, who's going to talk about more specifically how our city program is impacted by the millage.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate this opportunity to talk a little bit about the value of the Macomb County Public Transportation millage that is on the ballot and that people need to know about. While it's largely a renewal of what has been the services that Macomb County has been getting, that Sterling Heights has been getting, for the last 20 years, there are some important things I'd like to point out. First of all, it's important to think about who needs transit. Certainly our seniors who want to stay active, people with disabilities who have a lot to contribute even if they can't personally drive, families that might only have one car even though they have a lot of places to go. A person whose car just happens to break down, but they and their employer need them to get to work, regardless of whether it's in the shop. A student on their way to their very first job, sports fans who might want to get down to a ball game without spending $40 on parking. Seniors who want social activities, not just getting to the doctor or to the grocery, but doing some fun things. As well as anyone who's sick of high gas prices or unpredictable gas and car and insurance prices. So there are a lot of different people who may use public transportation. Some people all the time, some people just occasionally.
It's showtime.
Life smart. You.
So SMART put out a couple of videos sharing sort of what does it really mean. Ultimately, it's about people and can people get to the places that they need to go, work or elsewhere. So SMART provides a variety of important services, certainly the large buses that people are most familiar with, but also very much important are the senior shuttles that help our seniors, people with disabilities, to stay active, the community transit programs, as well as the newest is Flex, that many people may not be as familiar with, but it's sort of SMART's answer to Uber, where people can, with an app or by calling, can get a ride. They'll come either to your door or within a block or two, come pick you up and take you right to where you need to go. And most rides are just $2. Now, it's being piloted in certain zones. Let's see, is this? So this gives you a sampling of the services that are available in Sterling Heights. So all of those purple areas are part of the flex zone. So the sort of the northern, northeast portion of Sterling Heights is all part of that flex zone where those rides are available. Though SMART does hope to expand it throughout the entire county, throughout their entire service area in the coming years. There are obviously a number of very important fixed regular bus routes that take people to a lot of jobs along Van Dyke, 15 Mile and elsewhere, as well as, of course, the connector and the community partnership that you'll hear more about in a moment. I guess I just mentioned, but SMART is really innovating. They are trying to be responsive to people's concerns and needs by providing this alternative to Uber 7 days a week, almost all day. They'll even give the first couple of rides free if people want to give it a try. It can be either a great way to get the last mile or two from a bus route, or just to be able to travel within the Hall Road corridor. They've also made a number of innovations, technological upgrades, including the DART app, so that works on SMART and DDOT and the Q line, all with one single fare or app. You can actually pay by your smartphone. You don't have to have cash for people who do ride, and also real-time bus tracking, so people don't have to wonder when their bus is going to arrive, and even onboard digital screens. So really trying to stay up with the times and provide people with the best service within a modest budget. So speaking of, again, the SMARTS funding is made possible by the Macomb County Public Transportation Millage. It's a renewal at 0.95 mils. Actually, technically, it's a slight decrease, down from 0.99. So no increase in cost to taxpayers in Sterling Heights or across Macomb County, and it hasn't gone up in 8 years. And that averages out to less than $10 for the average household per month, which is substantially less than a lot of other communities across Michigan are paying for their services. So one more little video.
Cody's on 3rd. Is he here yet?
Any minute now.
I love you, Grandpa.
Life smart. You.
So just a reminder that ultimately this is about making sure that people can get where they need to go, wherever that might be, to address everyday needs, because everyone should have the freedom of mobility that SMART helps Sterling Heights and the rest of the county provide. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you. And Mayor, now Ms. Briggs will talk about how the SMART service millage directly impacts Sterling Heights through our paratransit system.
Good evening, Mayor Taylor, City Council members, and Mr. Vanderpool, and all that gather here tonight. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak and share a little bit about the long-standing partnership that we've had between SMART and the City of Sterling Heights. I know this first slide here says 25 years and counting, and I was corrected this morning. Someone showed me that there's actually a document that dates back to June of 1988. Stating that that's when things started between SMART and the city. So it should say 34 years and counting. So sorry for the error there. Regardless, many of you know that Sterling Heights has the minibus service that provides service to individuals over the age of 55 that cannot drive and adults with disabilities. We take them to doctor's appointments, shopping, Monday through Friday during the day. But our partnership with SMART really goes way more than that. So we are more than just a paratransit service. We allow people of all ages in our community to stay active and engaged in life. Senior riders can request evening rides to places like the Warren Community Center, which we have the partnership for them to be able to go there, or all residents to go there, to community events, including the farmers market and even city council meetings. For those that are 55 or 50 and older, we also provide travel experiences within the Tri-County area. And typically we run about 34, 35 of these trips per year. For those that are younger than 55, our minibus service transports individuals with disabilities to job opportunities and to the Macomb Academy. Additionally, we provide service for library outing, teen nights out, our adaptive recreation summer camp trips, and of course, Sterling Fest. In fact, this year, our partnership with SMART expanded to meet the increased demand during Sterling Fest. SMART provided for the city 4 40-foot fixed route buses, drivers for those buses, and a road supervisor each evening of Sterling Fest, allowing us to move more people, lowering staffing and fuel cost, and having less vehicles on the road. We actually decreased the size of our fleet by almost half, and we increased the seating on the road at any given time. During Sterling Fest, as well, many that lived within the Smart Flex service area were able to be picked up by their homes and driven directly to the event. As Megan was saying, much like other on-demand services, but with a less expensive price tag, with rides costing no more than $8 per ride. And even better, those who were first-time riders received free rides just for trying the service, so they were able to attend all 3 days of the event for free. In addition to this flex service has not only impacted just our residents, but the paratransit riders as well, because it has given our riders more opportunities to go out and about within the service area. Our minibus service is something that you need to make appointments at least 24 hours in advance, but we're often booked well beyond that 24-hour period. Currently, we are booked 3 weeks out for our daytime rides, which most of our riders know that they need to call early, but an average of about 26 riders a week are not able to get their first choice in rides. Our dispatcher does an amazing job to work with these riders to find other times and dates that might accommodate their ride. But when that's not possible, those in the service area of Flex have found it as a wonderful, viable addition, especially being on demand, and it can accommodate riders with more immediate needs. The demand for the Sterling Heights minibus service increases. Currently, we have 751 individual riders registered to use our paratransit services. That's 751 Sterling Heights residents relying on our service for essential transportation. And that number is up 16 in just the last 30 days. We are averaging over 1,000 rides per month, not including our Sterling Fest numbers, which this year we provided over 16,000 rides in 3 days. 8,400 of those were given by those fixed route vehicles in the evening. Lastly, our partnership with SMART includes the procurement of vehicles and maintenance of our SMART fleet, which currently is comprised of 9 vehicles, 6 that were provided by our partnership and 3 that were purchased using SMART credits. Although this may seem like a lot of vehicles, we're actually down one of our largest vehicles. We have been approved to use both federal grant money and SMART credits to purchase a new replacement vehicle. It's been ordered and we're very eagerly waiting for it to arrive. The city's partnership with SMART helps our residents stay moving, engaged in our community and beyond. It allows us to provide top-level service to our residents and enhance access to our city services. And I'm proud to work with such an amazing team that helps keep the residents of Sterling Heights rolling in the right direction. Thank you very much for your time.
And thank you very much, Kristen. And Mayor, just in closing, I wanted to highlight anecdotally the importance of the system in Sterling Heights to our businesses. The community may remember that a couple of years ago, we had to install new sidewalk on 18 Mile Road between Van Dyke and Mound because we had so many employees that work at the businesses on 18 Mile, Mound, and Van Dyke that they were literally walking down the road, 18 Mile Road, early in the morning and in the evening, in the dark, especially in the winter, is very unsafe. So we had to put in the sidewalk, which is in now, it's beautiful, and new lighting. And that's an example of how our businesses benefit from the smart system. The Van Dyke route is one of the busiest in the system, including Sterling Heights. And because of that, the Sterling Heights Regional Chamber of Commerce and Industry Board of Directors recently voted to support the smart renewal, which is pretty unusual for a Chamber of Commerce to take any action on a tax millage, but they did just that, realizing the importance to the business community. So we wanted to make sure everyone is aware of this vote on November 8th, that they have good information, and if the council so desires, we'll continue to push out our information in terms of how we are impacted by SMART, and we'll be happy to address any questions the community has over the next few weeks. Thank you very much, Mayor. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vanderpool. Tonight we have two presentations. Our first presentation is a swearing-in ceremony for a new Sterling Heights police officer. Our presentation is going to be handled tonight, of course, by our police chief, Dale Dwojciechowski. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, members of council. Mr. Vanderpool, another great night. I feel like a proud father every time. We've done a lot of these lately. A lot of new hires. Next year, probably another 5 to 10 new hires. So we've went through a really big rebuilding process. 50 officers in the last 5 years, 77 officers in the last 7 years. So a lot of new faces. And for you members of council, that's why I gave you your yearbook so you can look up these new faces. But yes, a lot of new faces. And again, we've talked about this before. Sterling Heights attracting some of the best talent in the entire state of Michigan, the entire state. They come here to work because of what we have to offer, what the city has to offer, obviously pay, benefits, the size of the agency, things you can do. And every single one of these officers, including Nick Gushin is our brand new officer here. Nick left the place and he's making a commitment to Sterling Heights for 25 years of service. And we're very proud of that. And when last time we did our application process, we had a lot of people from throughout the state that wanted to work here. Nick was supposed to come on with our last batch. If you remember last time I was here, we swore in 2. Nick was supposed to be part of that group. Nick, who just got done working for the Detroit Police Department for the last 2 years, was dragged by a bad guy trying to do a traffic stop. His body's half in a car, and the suspect dragged him for multiple city blocks through the streets of Detroit. And it's lucky he didn't die. But he was injured. So Nick was injured for many, many months, and we waited and we waited and we waited for Nick to get better to offer this spot on our hiring list. And the reason we waited is because of Nick and his background. Nick is a 15-year Army vet. And so he left the Army with a ton of experience. He came out, worked for the Oakland County Sheriff's Department, the Detroit Police Department, and now he's with us. So it was absolutely worth waiting. We're glad that Nick is okay and he's doing well. Nick's married with 4 kids, and he brings a wealth of talent, and we love hiring people that were in the military just because of the skill set they bring. So with that, I'm going to do the swearing in. Nick, you ready? Go ahead and raise your right hand, repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Nicholas Gushin,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United
that
States
I will support the Constitution of the United States
and that of the state of Michigan,
and that of the state of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of police officer
and I'll faithfully discharge the duties of a police officer
in and for the city of Sterling Heights,
in and for the city of Sterling Heights,
and that I will strive to maintain the highest standards of that department
and that I will strive to maintain the highest standards of that department
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
to the best of my knowledge and ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Before I turn the microphone over to Nick, I'd just like to thank council again for your support constantly with our equipment and the money and the funding, and we couldn't do it without you, and it truly is a team effort. And with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Nick.
Mayor, City Council, thank you. I appreciate it, Chief. Thank you. To my wife, and then I'm sure most of you heard my youngest child, Luke, over there, and then my mom's here. My other 3 kids couldn't make it tonight, and then my dad had a procedure today, so he couldn't make it either. Anyway, I thank you. I just look forward to working for the city of Sterling Heights. It was a long time coming. I can't thank the chief and the department enough for waiting for me and going through that process. They were calling me every week, doing status updates and checks, and so with that, I'm just thankful to be here, happy to be here, and ready to serve the city.
All right, thank you, Nick.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Council, anyone have any comments or questions? Mrs. Sarowski?
They know I always like to say something. So Nick, thank you and welcome. As a mother of a Marine Corps police officer, your police officers hold a very special place in my heart, and I understand how you feel as a mother of a veteran. And so welcome, and I commend especially your honor, your bravery, and everything that you've already been through to get here. I do remember hearing on the news about a police officer in Detroit being dragged on and down the street, so I think that was probably you. And glad you're healing. As a nurse, I understand that you have a bit of road rash going on and what that exactly means. So welcome again. I'm glad that you're here. We think that we're a little bit safer than Detroit. We hope that does pan out that way for you. And as a mother of 4 children, yay for you. And yes, that's always a fun job to have. So again, welcome, and
you.
yes, thank you for being here.
Council, anyone else? How you doing? Are you all right?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yep.
Okay, good. I'm glad we waited too. We love having new hires. We love people who have a choice to go anywhere probably in the state, and you choose to come to the city of Sterling Heights. It means a lot to us, and I can tell you, the city of Sterling Heights, our residents support our police department 100%. I said this a couple days ago. Our public gives our police very high ratings, view them very favorably, trust our police, celebrate our police, honor our police, want to do everything they can to help our police. And so that's what we do on the city council. We're going to try to give you all the resources that we can, the best training, the best equipment. If you're not getting what you need, let us know. Let the chief know. He'll let us know. And we want to take care of you while you're out there taking care of us. You're coming to a department that I think you know has a great reputation. We trust that you can help maintain that and build on it. So thank you again. God bless you, your family. Thank you for serving the city of Sterling Heights. Stay safe out there. Keep us safe. Good luck. One more big round of applause. Okay, I will move on to the next item on our agenda tonight, which is another presentation, and this is a presentation of our annual beautification awards. Like always, we have the chairman of our beautification commission, Mr. Gary Isom, is here, and with members of our community relations staff, I will hand it over to you. Take it away, Mr. Isom.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. Good evening. I'm Gary Isom, chairperson for the Sterling Heights Beautification Commission. Tonight, it gives me great pleasure to present our 2022 Beautification Awards. The Sterling Heights Beautification Commission's mission is to encourage all city residents, property owners to preserve and enhance the beauty of public and private properties. One of the ways we do that is through our annual awards ceremony, where we honor those who go above and beyond in beautifying their Sterling Heights properties. Tonight, we carry on that tradition here before this body. We thank you for welcoming this presentation as we showcase our residents and business leaders' dedication to making Sterling Heights a more beautiful place to live, work, and play. For the past 5 months, the Beautification Commission's welcomed nominations from citizens who wish to recognize the Sterling Heights property for outstanding beauty resulting from the planting of annuals and perennials. The commission reviewed photographs taken of more than 40 nominated homes, businesses, and places of worship. Commissioners judged nominations and selected a best of the best from each category that had a wow factor when seen from the curb. Commissioners selected winners based on overall beauty, aesthetics, and artistic use of color. Each nomination will be presented in the categories of single-family properties, multifamily properties, commercial properties, and places of worship. A best of the best recipient will be honored in each of the categories. I'd like to thank all the beautification commissioners here tonight for their dedication to this program. As I call your name, could you please stand up? Henrietta Pajeski, Steve Duncan, Manny Gonzalez, Matthew Smith, Lisa Lane, Sue Hobig, and did any of the other members speak in that I didn't see? At this time, I'd like to invite Mayor Michael Taylor and members of City Council to join me in presenting the 2022 Sterling Heights Beautification Awards. To the award recipients here tonight, when your address is called, please come forward to receive your award from Mayor Taylor. A photograph of the honored address will be shown on Sterling Heights TV and here on a video screen.
Commercial properties. Christian Financial Credit Union. Apparam. Roncelli. Multifamily Properties. American House Sterling Meadows. Arden Courts of Sterling Heights. Sterling Knolls Apartments. Places of Worship. St. Jane Frances de Chantal Catholic Church. Thank you. Great job. You're coming back for your own? Residential properties. 8811 Clinton River Road. 8459 Leslie Drive. 11735 Seaton Drive, D21. 11336 Village Drive.
Looks better in a picture.
4466 18.5 Mile Road. – 41215 Fieldview Street.
Well done.
3521 Leeson. One 242 18 Mile Road.
Thank you.
34895 Carbon Drive. 43243 Chardonnay Drive. 11125 Granada Drive, 36239 Melbourne Drive. One 11773 Danforth Drive, 37281 Bellcrest Drive.
There you go. Here, will you take this at least? You want it? There you go. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Great job. Thank you, guys. Good job. Good job. I know. We're back. Thank you.
39039 Vassar Avenue, 42247 Sycamore Drive, 14267 Lakeshore Drive, 43466 Interlaken Drive. Four 662 Berwick Drive, 4652 Bennington Drive, 38978 Marlborough Drive, 2708 Farmdale Drive, 42311 Hanks Lane, 33712 Brownlee Drive, 14985 Riverview Court.
Nice job. Sorry, I'm making the neighborhood, bringing it down. I want to talk to you about it. Yeah. Can I hire you? Great job. Great job. Use all the help you can get.
38014 Douglas Drive,
you. Good job. Thank you very much. Thank you.
8753 Headley Drive. And now for the best of the best.
The only one that's here is only residential is here. So yeah, we will grab at the end.
Commercial property. Fraza. Multifamily properties. Fieldstone Apartments. Places of Worship. St. Matthias Catholic Church. Residential properties. 33572 Ashton Drive.
Congratulations. Great job. Thank you, man. Congratulations.
No, those are good. I'm gonna grab them for, yeah, yep, you guys are good. Yeah, perfect, perfect. Okay, we're getting Michael. Pass it on.
That'd be tremendous. Get some, Maria?
Yeah, I did. Thanks.
I'd just like to thank everyone for attending tonight's Beautification Awards. Please remain seated so that City Council may formally recognize tonight's recipient. And I'd just like to do a reminder that the Beautification Commission is again this year hosting a Halloween contest. So if you have any neighbors that's gone above and beyond, please get those photos sent in or ask them to send them in. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Isom. Good job by our Beautification Commission, as always. Council, we do have a suggested action tonight.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Yanez.
resolved to individually and collectively recognize the 2022 Beautification Award winners and thank them for their dedication and effort in making their properties, neighborhoods, and the city of Sterling Heights a more beautiful place to live, work, and play.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mr. Yanez?
Pictures worth 1,000 words. We saw a lot of beautiful pictures, a lot of beautiful properties. So I do appreciate everyone who puts in a lot of hard work to make their property look good and bring up the properties around them. And I think we all appreciate it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Council, Mr. Radke.
As a gardener myself, I know how much work goes into such beautiful flowers. So I want to thank everyone for making our city a little bit nicer and just keep up the good work. We hope to see you back next year, huh?
Absolutely. Council, anyone else? Again, we really do appreciate it. Our Beautification Commission is just one of many, many boards and commissions that I think are all very important and fit into the plan that we have to make this a great, welcoming, inclusive, dynamic, vibrant community. And to the residents out there and the businesses that are going above and beyond to make our city look even better, we thank you from the bottom of our heart. We can't do it alone. In fact, we need the support of hundreds and thousands of people in our community to make this city what it is. And so you guys have certainly stepped up. And again, we just really, really appreciate it so much. So one more big round of applause for all of you. Council, with no further discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. So we will take about a 5-minute recess to let anybody who wants to maybe clear out at this time and not stay for the rest of the meeting. We won't judge if you get on to something else tonight. So we'll stand in recess for about 5 minutes. All right, calling this meeting back to order. We are moving on to the next item on our agenda tonight, which is a public hearing. This is to consider the application by Amr Batal on behalf of ARH Land Holdings LLC for a residential planned unit development on approximately 5.6 acres of land situated on the west side of Mound Road, north of 14 Mile Road, known as Icon Park. PPUD 21-0003. We have a presentation from our Assistant City Attorney, Alyssa Albright. Ms. Albright.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, and good evening, City Council members. Before you is a request for a planned unit development, which if granted would permit 5 three-story apartment buildings consisting of 140 units to be developed in that area of 14 Mile and Mound Road. Of those 140 units, the applicant is proposing 28 micro units, which would cost approximately $850 a month, 56 one-bedroom units costing approximately $1,250 a month, and 56 two-bedroom units costing approximately $1,640 a month. The applicant is also proposing one of the buildings to be located directly on Mound Road and would contain second and third floor residential with a community space on the first floor, which would include a gym, business center, gaming room, things of that nature, sort of the amenity center, so to speak. The applicant is also proposing recreation space throughout the proposed development, which would include walkway paths, a play area, a plaza space, and also a reflection pond area. As you can see here, this is just the zoning of the overall site. The subject site is zoned P1 and C3. To the north and the west is single-family residential. Farther north, directly north, is C3 and O1. Across Mound to the east is that industrial corridor with the M1 and also C3. And to the south of the subject site is zoned O1. The master land use plan does designate this area as innovation support. The intent of that district is to provide a comprehensive collaborative planning, zoning, and project review process in order to create an environment that is supportive to the city's industrial corridor. Multiple family residential in limited quantity is envisioned within this district, specifically in the master plan. This is just an aerial view of the subject site looking north. So on the right side of your screen, you'll see Mound Road, and on the bottom portion of your screen, you'll see 14 Mile Road. And here's the proposed site layout that the applicant has provided. As I mentioned, on the right side of your screen is that kind of the amenity center, so to speak, mixed with residential that would be abutting Mound Road. To the left of that is some parking spaces for the residents. To the left of that, you'll see some of that recreation space I was also discussing. The applicant is proposing a reflection pond, a community patio, a play space, and also a playground in that area. And all the way to the left of your screen on the western side of the property are those remaining proposed 4 apartment buildings. In between those buildings, the applicant is proposing linear courtyards that would include some of the recreation space that they're proposing on the site in general. This is a rendering of that proposed building that would be along the Mound Road frontage. As you can see, the second and third floor residential being proposed, and then also that ground floor community space. This is a rendering of the proposed apartment buildings on the western side of the property. As you can see, there's not direct access to the residents' apartments. There will be more centralized exits and entrances that will also be secured as well. Here's an overall floor plan of the proposed units. So to the right of your screen, you will see that these are the proposed examples for the 2-bedroom units. To the left is an example of the micro units. And then in the middle of your screen are the proposed 1-bedroom units. And if you go all the way across, that's another proposed micro unit, and then also 2-bedroom units as well. The applicant is proposing landscaping throughout the site. To the right along Mound Road, the applicant is proposing a 3-foot wall along with some landscape plantings. And along the left side of your screen, the applicant is proposing a 6-foot hedge wall on the western side of the property. And at the bottom of the screen along 14 Mile, the applicant is proposing a 3-foot wall with plantings that would somewhat mirror the Mound Road frontage as well. As I mentioned earlier, the applicant is proposing those linear courtyards in between the 4 apartment buildings on the western side of the subject site. Those would include benches, tables, community gardens, things of that nature. That's what the applicant is proposing as far as the use of those linear courtyards. And this is just a zoomed-in picture of the proposal regarding the reflection pond, the playscape, the community patio, the plaza. That would be to the west of that front building along Mound Road. As part of the application, the applicant is requesting a number of modifications to ordinance requirements. First and foremost, the ordinance would require 616,000 square feet of land. The applicant is proposing 243,500 square feet. The ordinance would require a 50-foot front yard setback. The applicant is proposing 35 feet on Mound Road. The ordinance would require a minimum of 600 square feet for living space, and as I mentioned, the applicant is proposing those micro units that would be about 308 square feet. The ordinance would require a minimum of 70,000 square feet of recreation space, and the applicant is proposing 28,000 square feet. The applicant is also proposing a modification to the major impact screening requirements and would be providing a 6-foot vinyl fence with landscaping and a 10-foot landscape green belt along a portion of the property where there's some parallel parking being proposed. And also, as I mentioned, there would be a landscaped hedge wall along the western property line. The ordinance also requires a maximum of 2 stories and 30 feet in the RM2 district. The applicant is proposing 3 stories and 35 feet. The ordinance requires 70 feet between buildings, and the applicant is proposing 22 feet 7 inches. I will note that the fire department was consulted. However, they did not raise any major concerns based on that building separation. The ordinance also requires parking to be located at least 25 feet from the building. The applicant is proposing 7 feet in some instances as part of the proposed development. The ordinance also requires dumpsters to be located at least 40 feet from single-family residential, and the applicant is proposing a dumpster within 10 feet of that single-family residential. The ordinance would require 285 parking spaces on site. The applicant is proposing 251 parking spaces, which does include those 20 parallel parking spaces to the northeast of the property that I mentioned previously. And the ordinance would also require 14 10 by 25 parking spaces for boats, trailers, recreation vehicles, things of that nature, and the applicant is not proposing any on site. And finally, the ordinance would require 50 parking lot trees. The applicant is proposing 35 at this time. So I will pass it to Alexis Richards, who has some additional planning considerations to share.
So as Alyssa noted, I'll be going over additional planning considerations. So first we have the revisions that occurred from what was approved at Planning Commission to what is now before you. So the landscape plan was integrated within the site plan, including detailing out plantings that would be found in the playset area. The wall abutting Mound Road was lowered down to 3 feet, and this was done to highlight the natural landscaping along the Mound Road frontage. It also provides greater public safety, as any public safety officers that may be patrolling the area would have a easier sight line of the site. The outdoor courtyard space between the buildings was added to the recreation space calculations per the request from the Planning Commission. The reflecting pool was separated out from their stormwater system, so now it will have an underground cistern, and that reflection pool will remain its own amenity, separate from the drainage system, and so therefore will not require any fencing. Additionally, another underground cistern was added to the western portion of the site to address any other water drainage concerns. So now we're going to kind of look at the big picture considerations, how this proposed development fits in with furthering Sterling Heights goals. So from a unique design perspective, it's a more urban design style than we currently have in the city. The buildings are closer to the road frontage as well as closer to each other, and this close proximity between the buildings creates a unique opportunity for there to be linear courtyards. It also includes these micro units in addition to complementing the 1 and 2 bedroom units that are also provided. There are outdoor amenities, including those interior walking paths, the community park and playground, as well as that reflecting pool. So now looking at our master land use plan, as Alyssa mentioned, it is within the Innovation Support District, and so as it sounds, this district is designed to support the existing industrial uses that are prevalent in the area. And so multifamily residential is allowable within this district in a limited use, as Alyssa noted, and it helps to diversify the existing uses. Additionally, in the inclusion of affordable options located in close proximity to the industrial and commercial uses provides the potential opportunity for workforce housing. It contributes to increasing walkability. So as a part of this, they will be providing sidewalk along their 14-mile road frontage. And so this kind of helps us fill in some of the gaps we currently have in our sidewalk infrastructure. It improves the streetscape aesthetic along Mound Road and 14-mile road, so using that landscaping. It also reduces the number of curb cuts along Mound Road from 3 down to 1. And so this was one of the concerns that was identified in the master plan, is the number of curb cuts along Mound Road. It also, another concern was the smaller lots that are prevalent, and so this consolidates a number 7 smaller lots to allow for this larger development. Looking from a sustainability perspective, it includes electric vehicle charging stations, a covered rideshare waiting shelter, and its proximity to the industrial use, commercial industrial uses provides opportunity for residents to utilize alternative modes of transportation such as walking, biking, or scooting. Additionally, the frontage landscape aids to the beautification of the area. Looking forward, this proposed development is safe, it promotes outdoor activity, and is distinct from any other developments we currently have in Sterling Heights. It expands our non-motorized network by adding sidewalks along that 14-mile frontage, as well as connecting to the Mound Road pathway. And its connection to the Mound Road pathway provides non-motorized connection to the Dodge Park Road Trail, the Freedom Trail that connects to Lake St. Clair Metro Park, the Clinton River Trail System, and then ultimately the Iron Bell Trail. Additionally, it would likely serve as a catalyst for future redevelopment. So that kind of concludes our portion of the presentation. So I would like to introduce the applicants who have a presentation prepared for all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Alexis and Alyssa, thank you so much. You know, as much as we do about this particular development, the information that you presented was absolutely outstanding, and we want to thank you for all the work that you've done so far on this development.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, council, men and women, thank you so much for having us tonight. Mayor Taylor, thank you so much for having us tonight. We're looking forward to bring forth our vision of the Icon Park development on 14 Mile and Mound, and we're looking forward to begin our presentation.
My name is Randy Najjar. I am one of the developers and partners with Amer. I am an architectural graduate from Lawrence Tech and an MBA graduate from Oakland University, and I currently own a luxury home building company, a landscaping company based in Bloomfield Hills. I was a longtime resident of Sterling Heights. I spent many, many years here, grew up and went to elementary, middle school, and high school in the city, so pretty well versed with the city.
Some of my background is I'm a graduate from Oakland University School of Engineering. I'm fairly active in the city of Sterling Heights. I own a group of residential condominiums.
Amr, can you speak into the mic?
Sure.
You don't have to be that close.
So what I was saying is I'm fairly active in the city of Sterling Heights. I currently own and operate a business by the name of Urban Air Sterling Heights on Hall Road. It's a family entertainment business catered for families and kids. I also own 10 condominiums in the Sterling Creek Condominium Complex on 16 Mile and Shaner. Proud resident of Sterling Heights from 2014 through 2016 at the Sterling Heights Condominium Complex. And today we're bringing forth to you Icon Park development also in Sterling Heights.
Just a quick recap, we have 140 units on 5.6 acres within the Design Innovation Living corridor on Mound Road.
fencing offices. And
Thank you.
the first batch of fence that we made.
So while Amer's passing that out, just a quick recap again. Site layout on 5.6 acres, we are proposing 5 buildings with 140 units. Alyssa and Alexis did mention the different variances that we are seeking, but we do feel that this is quite a cohesive project that putting everything together provides a really beautiful presentation and project right at the forefront of entering into Sterling Heights along one of the main corridors of Mound Road.
So why 14 Mile and Mound Road? Mound Road is considered the third most important road in Macomb County after Hall Road and Van Dyke. Easy access to I-696, M53, M59, and I-75. Currently, there's more than 47,000 people working along the Mound Corridor and over 53,000 job openings in Sterling Heights, per Indeed as of 9/27 of this year. The new Amazon Fulfillment Center is right across the street from our development. U.S. Army base and defense contractors such as General Dynamics and BAE Systems occupy the Van Dyke and the Mound Corridor, as well as the big three, GM, Ford, and Stellantis. There is an immediate need for additional residential units. We ran a search on apartments.com as of 9/27 as well, and we only found 58 apartments available currently for rent between 12 Mile and 16 Mile and between Ryan and Van Dyke.
And as we mentioned, we are right within the Innovation District and Innovate Mound projects, so we feel that this would be a great project to add to that and really support a lot of the innovation happening along the Mound corridor.
As far as road and traffic counts, the 14 Mile occupies currently 5 lanes. Mound Road occupies 8 lanes. Per the SEMCOG traffic counts and variances we looked at, the eastbound 14 Mile as well as westbound has an average of about 15,000 cars per day, and northbound and southbound have about 37,000 cars per day. And if all of our residents leave at the same time, at the same hour, from the same entrance or exit, we will just make a very small impact of 2% off of 14 Mile Road and less than 0.7% off of Mound Road.
As you can see, we're surrounded by a pretty big mix of different types of properties, from commercial to residential and a church to the north of us. We do feel that we are a pretty good transition between the commercial along Mound Road and then the residential to the west. So being a multifamily development, along with having that semi-retail look along Mound Road, would transition those parcels very well between the two different major types of zoning.
This is the current view off of Mound Road, and this is our proposed view off of Mound Road after we are done with our development. Similarly, this is currently the view off of 14 Mile Road, and then the future view that we envision is this view off of 14 Mile Road.
Just a bird's eye view color rendering of the different apartment units that we're trying to propose. As we've mentioned, there's about 10 units per floor, 3 floors per building, so a total of 30 units, including micro units, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms. Just to touch base on the micro units a little bit, they are smaller units, but we've done a lot of research on that, and many of the urban developments happening around the state of Michigan, in Detroit and Ann Arbor and other pretty dense areas, these are very, very popular and in high demand for micro units. They do provide an opportunity for individuals to rent their own space while having a fairly affordable rent on a monthly basis. So although they are quite smaller than what is typically allotted for in the ordinance, we do feel that this would be something that that can bring in new residents to the city, and many residents would appreciate, rather than potentially having to roommate with somebody else and share a 2-bedroom unit and split the rent. This offers a new alternative.
Those are the indoor amenities that we will have on the building that's facing Mound Road. The indoor amenities will consist of a fitness center, a game room, a private party room. We have surveillance and digital security access to all of our buildings, including deliveries of Amazon or any UPS that will have accessibility to our security system. Community lounges as well. Business center for 12 stations for those who would either work from home or do any type of hybrid work from home or from their office. They can come down from their apartments and enjoy our business centers that would be fully equipped with state-of-the-art technology. In addition to that, our on-site management and leasing office will be on-site. Our on-site management and leasing office is to the left of this rendering, which is a model of our one-bedroom and two-bedroom units. We do not have to showcase any of the residents' apartments. We can directly do it from the leasing office and let any potential resident walk this space, enjoy this space, live in this space for 10 or 15 or 30 minutes for the duration of their visit to the leasing office. And this way, we will not be disturbing any other residents by showing their units instead.
And we're pretty proud of the outdoor amenities that we've been able to incorporate into our project here. We do have a lot of outdoor space that we've really exemplified with community gardens, pavilions in the center with fireplaces, a nice playground that also potentially has a nice lawn that can be used for community movie nights or for kids to play around in, things of that nature. We have barbecue stations, a reflective pond in the center with a fountain that could be for children to play in or for natural wildlife as well. Lots of walking paths, community residence boulevard in between the buildings as we discussed, covered ride share, as well as electric vehicle charging stations.
Any questions, we're available to answer. All the floor plans are available on the back side of your pamphlet. They are actually divided. If you flip on the back side, you can see the one bedroom, the two bedroom, and the micro unit. They're much larger than what we showed on the screen, and you can also see some of our clubhouse amenities. We are available for any questions, and we want to thank you so much for allowing us to present our vision to you.
Okay, thank you guys both very much. We appreciate it. At this time, what we'll do is we'll open the public hearing and we'll hear from the members of the audience. And then once the city council is deliberating, if we have any questions, we'll call you back up, okay? So you guys can take a seat for now and we'll call you back in a couple minutes. So at this time, I will open up the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? Yes, sir?
Joe Znoy, 34330 Centennial Court, Sterling Heights. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, City Manager. Sometimes I think science and research rarely trumps politics and journals of self-serving statistics, but I'm going to take a go at it. Dak Kopek, Director of Design for Human Health at Boston Architectural College, says, sure, these micro-apartments may be fantastic for young professionals in their 20s, but they can be unhealthy for older people, say in their 30s and 40s, who face different stress factors that can make tight living conditions a problem. And I think when speaking of young professionals, I know that term's bandied about quite a bit, but I think the assumption is that this demographic has sufficient discretionary income to use a high-density city as their living room, dining out and hanging out at other venues while using their micro-apartment as a crash pad at night. But Sterling Heights, thankfully, doesn't have the density of New York or San Francisco. And I think the poor folks who will live in these micro-apartments will be there not out of choice, but of necessity, and will be less likely to afford diversions that might counter cabin fever. This proposed development, with all units combined, exceeds square foot density by 2.5 times of what is normally allowed. I would say this certainly can be defined as overcrowding. Per Kim Rawlings, an architect and environmental psychologist from Notre Dame, cabin fever from overcrowding can elicit psychological distress, substance abuse, and depression in adults. This stress also increases the risk of aggression and domestic violence. With regards to children, she states, research shows depression, loneliness, increased blood pressure, and lower academic performance is found in children who live in crowded homes. What are the occupancy limits for these micro and one-bedroom apartments? Will families with kids be allowed in these small spaces? Research also shows that if you want to counter health issues of small living spaces, you need to have robust recreational space. This development allots only 17,000 square feet of recreational space, much less than the 70,000 that code requires. In our current pandemic age, there is also concern about disease transmission between people in the same apartment, as well as transmission from apartment to apartment, especially depending on how much common ventilation the complex utilizes. What about pot odors spreading throughout the complex? And I know sound transmission is also a big stress factor when it comes to privacy concerns. Does the petitioner intend to use any additional sound remediation materials between these crowded units? Lastly, what effect will micro apartments have on the rental market? If he's charging $1,250 for a one-bedroom, 645 square foot apartment, then you would think a 308 square foot micro should go for $625. But no, he's asking $850 for a micro. Ultimately, this will increase citywide ground rent values and make larger, more livable apartment space less affordable. In conclusion, micro apartments may be a viable solution in ultra-high density cities like New York, where there's no room for outward expansion. But I don't think they're a good fit for Sterling Heights. Promoting this micro trend can only lead to a host of physical and mental problems for potential renters, as well as a host of societal problems like contagious disease spread, substance abuse, domestic abuse, and overall crime. And I don't know about the reflection pond. I hope it's not deep enough for kids to drown in. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zanoy. Anybody else under this public hearing? Mr. Nelson?
Mayor, City Council, I'm here because it's a PUD, okay? In this, first of all, I noticed that lots of things have changed since Chris McLeod left. I see on the agenda statement there's one suggested action, and that one is to approve. I imagine anybody that's up here talking is falling on deaf ears. The staff report was written on September 29th. That was after Mr. McLeod left. I don't think we would have ever seen a staff report that so much ended up with sustainability and the 2030 visioning plan, which is definitely the city manager and council. That's your plan, and that's what's why it's good, why this whole project is good. This is a 14 variants, call it modifications, but it's 14 variances to our regulations. And Mr. Taylor, I know you've already told us that you don't care about regulations, you want apartments. You build all the ones they want. But as Mr. Zanoy brought up, 616,000 square feet of land is required for, in our normal zoning, is required for this development. They're giving us 243,500, 2.5 times less in the development space. So all we're doing is crunching again. Modification minimum living space per dwelling unit of 600 square feet, one-bedroom units to permit micro units of 308 square feet. Mr. Yanis, I was really shocked at the remark you made the last time about, well, it might be really good for little senior citizens to sit in that 308 square foot, and they should be perfectly happy. Well, I don't think so. That's the size of my family room, which would be about 22 by 14 feet. In that, I'd like to see the breakdown of the micro apartments. how much bathroom space is coming out of that 22 by 14, how much kitchen space is coming out of that, and does a Murphy bed fall out of the wall like college days? There's modification request for the 70,000. We normally would require for this development, 70,000 square feet of recreation space. They're giving us 17,000. What are we doing? Those drawings are real nice. Their perspective was a little off. It looked like they were on 10 acres. They're on 5 acres, a little over 5 acres. And it goes on and on. There's 14 total variances. We need to get rid of this PUD. I don't like the PUD. As soon as we see it come up, we know that we're going to cram another development into Sterling Heights. It's not needed. It's not wanted. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Anybody else under the public hearing? Yes, sir?
Good evening. My name is Joel Krabowski. I live at 825 East 11 Mile in Royal Oak, Michigan. I'm representing the ownership of 5775 East 14 Mile, which is the current Citizens Bank that is vacant. And we also own 5661 14 Mile, which is the vacant land that's already zoned residential just to the west of the proposed development. We've been in discussions with them for a while because we have some tenants that would like to build on Mound, and we just wanted to take about an acre 6, acre 5, and extend our building to the north. They're not retail developers, they're residential, and we had a great proposal. We would take the 5 acres in the back, we would do a land swap. We already knew what they paid for it. We were actually going to give them money. That would give them much more land. They could expand it, do whatever they want to do. And then we, just our sense is, it's Mound Road. It's the traffic count's not right either. It's about 85,000 cars. You got 8-lane highway, and you're going to put residential not only there but next to a dry cleaner. It just doesn't make sense when we have a great proposal to move it all the way to the west, and everybody's happy. The residents are happy. The citizens are safer. Everything just works better. The other thing we came up with, too, is by the request of the developer, they came to us and they said, okay, but for some reason we think you might have wetlands on your property. So he said, okay, we bought it from a trust. The lady died, Elaine Schomburg, so the money was donated to Habitat for Humanities. So we picked up that property. We were going to do a residential development, but we thought this might work better. So we did get a report, which I'm going to submit to the city. It was done by a very reputable firm, Nitzwander Environmental, and I'm sorry he couldn't make it tonight. He had a baby girl today. It was early, so he couldn't make it, and I don't know really how to talk the language of environmental, but what he said, so if you can see these reports, what it does is it 100% goes on their property. I just want to make sure that, because what he told me is, if you wreck the habitat and destroy, the flood buffer absorbs as excess water from the streets because the water tables are so high. So, if they don't get a report and address this and figure this out, it could be pretty devastating, not only foundations, flooding, everything. We're trying to, we still work with them and we can still try to do something here, but we're going to lose. We probably lost close to $500,000 ourselves because we have wetlands and there's no way we can build on them. We either have to replace them in a different part of Michigan. But the problem is here too, what he says is when you do that, like you said, the runoff water, when you build up the land and you just replace it, say up north or into a different city, it's still, your water tables aren't going to be right and it's going to flood. So I'll submit all this stuff to the city. I'm not going to show you, but you can 100% see where it goes onto their property. It's there. So This is a copy for you guys. I can have the environmental consultant forward everybody in the city council that as well. I don't know who you want to give this to.
You can give it to our city clerk and she'll get it to us.
All right,
there.
perfect. But, you know, we spend a lot of money in the city too, and we're developing. We actually have an out-of-state office/retail user that would be perfect for this site. And we're just trying to make a fair deal, and maybe even we can use some of our land as the wetland in the back and work with them and move it towards the front of where Mound is on the 5 acres. I mean, it's a lot of land. We're only looking for about 1.5 acres on Mound, and then we would swap it all and, you know, make it right to where almost they get all their money back that they paid for their property. Just for 1.5 acres.
All right.
So,
Well, thank you very much, sir. We'll take a look at anything you have to give us. And the city clerk's right there. That's okay. Okay, would you like to be next, sir?
Thank you guys for having me. So I came in here today, and I actually used your guys' conference room, so I'm sorry, it's my first time at one of these.
what's your name?
I'm Charles Tamu, by the way. We actually just purchased the Stober Plaza adjacent to the land, so I actually didn't know what I was gonna walk into today, because I'm going, okay, well, they're gonna put apartments here, which we were super excited about, but I wanted to see who the owners were. Well, it turned out I actually know who Randy is, one of the builders over there. And I know his dad, and these guys are great guys. He's been doing luxury. I'm in real estate. Randy's in real estate. He's been doing luxury builds forever. These guys are clean cut. I could tell you, like, ourselves, myself and my partner are super excited about the apartment complex that's gonna go there, because I think it's gonna bring great value to the area. I see everything that they're doing on Mound Road. We've been there for like 2 months every day, just working. We're putting $250,000 into that building, that Stober Plaza ourselves, along with the dry cleaners and everything over there. And I've talked to my tenants, and the tenants are actually really excited about maybe having some residential units there, because with everything that's happened since COVID, things have been slow for retail, you know, so people are a little excited about it. I mean, our tenants are excited about it. I also come from a background where I manage almost 40 employees myself, a lot of which are just getting started in the field. And a lot of the people that I work with are coming from out of state, starting their careers with us. And I know they're doing the same thing across Macomb County and Oakland County, coming in from out of state, starting new careers. For some of these people, whatever age group they're at, whether they're young or 30s, 40s, 50s, I get people starting in real estate at all age groups. And a lot of these people are paying top dollar rents. We own a lot of rentals ourselves on the residential side as well. And I know what it's like to go tell somebody that's barely making it that they're gonna have to pay $1,600 a month or $1,700 a month for rent. So I think the micro apartments are a great idea, just coming from real estate myself. It's mostly gonna be something that either, you know, you gotta be comfortable with it, right? So it's not for everybody. They don't have to go there. And I don't have any interest in that complex or anything, but this is my first time hearing exactly what's being developed. And I think this is absolutely incredible, just because I've got employees that come to me and they're barely making it, and it takes them a year or two to build into their career and have some money, and they're paying $2,000 a month. So somebody that can come in there and start out at $650 or $800 or whatever that is, that's a great deal for somebody to start at and grow their life and expand. So that's my personal opinion on it. We're right next door. We own the Stober Plaza, the one with the dry cleaners, the 2-unit, and also the 6-unit. And I think this would be incredible for us, you know.
Great.
Thank
you
guys.
very much. Appreciate it. Anyone else under the public hearing? If not, I'll close the public hearing, and council, we need a motion.
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
resolve to approve the application by Amir Batal on behalf of the ARH Land Holdings LLC for a residential planned unit development on approximately 5.6 acres of land situated on the west side of Mound Road, north of 14 Mile, PPUD 21-0003, subject to the terms and conditions set forth in the planned unit development agreement, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign all documents required in conjunction with this approval on behalf of the city.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion, Mrs. Zarko?
Well, I'm going to go first because there was silence, and then, you know, for the motion, and then if I will ask for a second turn later. Just being upfront.
I know.
Yes, this is the first time we've done this.
Okay. This is not our first apartment complex. Mr. Zanoy goes first, then Mr. Nelson goes, then you go,
Yes,
and
we all
we
do
do round
this.
robin here.
Yeah. First of all, I think this is a unique presentation. We're all aware, and we're going to be becoming more aware of the housing shortage throughout the state. And a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned that in order to keep up with the demand, the state should be approving 75,000 unit applications. At the end of this year, they might reach 17,000. So that goes to show you we still are not keeping up with that demand. So this it has the urban feel. When I first moved to Sterling Heights in 1977, I got my first job in 1978, and I worked just south of 14 Mile on Mound Road. I can tell you the corner of 14 and Mound has looked terrible for almost that whole time to where we are today. So to me, for somebody that wants to invest in making that first to look better, secondly, is giving people an opportunity to actually live somewhere with their families. The way that the employment growth in that area, I think it could actually support what you're doing. So I don't think, you could do this anywhere, and I think you're going to have it filled. But I think it's something that we really need to look at, because this isn't going to be the only thing that's going to come in front of us where we're going to have to make changes. We are going to have variances. And this is, to me, a perfect place to put it. So I really like the renderings. And I have to say that we have worked with Mr. Jajar's father for many years in different, in a lot of ways, for whether it be projects that we did with the city. He was very active in the city. So we know the history behind who's doing this. So I think that's a good, that's moving in the right direction. I did look up some of your backgrounds, and Mr. Najjar, you happen to be, they call you a genius in architecture. So, I mean, and that was just in a conversation. So you're well respected in your field. We had some talk about the micro units, and they are for people, business people that travel. They don't want a big apartment. So they're looking for something where they can land every time they're in or out of town. So it has a use. We might not see it as homeowners and what we want and the size of the home that we want, but there are seniors that would live in there for less than $900 a month than to go into assisted living, and it's going to cost them $5,000 a month. So there will be clients for that smaller unit. And I think it will be a range, the age will be a good size range. The reflecting pool was what I don't know what you're going to do with the reflecting pool, how deep it is. So that was one of my concerns too, but we can get back on that. I guess some of the other questions that I would have for you, so it's through the chair to whoever would have the answers, is one of them is, will you own the company handling the rental applications, or are you going to have somebody do it for you? Because I think it's very important that we've had experience in the past where a company handled it for an apartment complex and it didn't work out well. So that would be one of my questions. Will you have full-time security there 24/7? And then will your staff be full-time on staff? 24/7 with a property manager. I want to thank you for doing the traffic study. And like I said, I think this project has potential. I think it answers a lot of the questions that we have about housing. So I'm going to listen to what my colleagues have to say, and maybe they agree or disagree with me. So that's all I have right now.
Okay. Do you want them to come up and answer your questions?
That would be helpful.
Okay.
I apologize, I was taking notes on my phone. I'm not looking at my phone to check my text messages. It's the purpose to answer the questions. I'm going to start off by answering Mrs. Yarko's questions. So the depth of the pond is going to be very shallow. We're probably going to design something that's going to be anywhere from 6 to 12 inches. The reason for that is we have listened to Planning Commission, and we took their feedback and decided that we are not going to use the retention pond for water retention purposes. We are going to do underground detention. That would be a separate tank completely from the reflective pond itself. And the reflective pond itself would just be a landscaping element and a design that the residents can use to sit down, read a book, meditate, or whatever they want to do around the pond.
Okay. Could you please speak into the microphone?
Sure thing. The next question is who handles management? We are going to have an on-site leasing office as well as a management office. So all the management will be done in-house. It will not be outsourced to a third-party management company. And that office will be staffed with full-time employees. As far as security, the plan is to have surveillance throughout the entire development. Cybersecurity is going to be handled through a national call center, and any security breach will directly notify the national call center, and in return, they will notify the Sterling Heights Police Department.
And just,
Anything else?
no, just one more thing. It was wetlands were brought up. We're not here to judge wetlands. That would go to the state. The state would make the determining factor on that. It has nothing to do with what we do here. So as this process moves forward, that would be something that we don't handle, the state handles. So just to be perfectly clear, nothing further.
Okay. Council, anyone else? Mrs. Sarowski.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. So, and I don't immediately have questions for you, gentlemen, so you can sit down. Thank you. So I'm interested in this project as in tentative agreement with seeing how this project goes. It is a PUD, and so that doesn't allow, and I'm going to kind of read what this says too. So PUDs ordinance allows property owners to have greater flexibility with respect to developing their properties, and it allows us with approval to allow PUD properties to be developed with a higher density. So I am interested, and this is unique. It is an area of the city that does need some development and improvement. And we do, it is a denser, a more developed area of our city. And I think that what we probably do need to do eventually, since we have with many of these apartment buildings, and it has been brought up, we're constantly trying to give they're requesting variances, is maybe we need to look at how we actually have some of our ordinances and our requirements, and maybe we do need to address those later date. But because there's so many variances that are requested when we have some high-density properties. So that's another topic, but it is to be noted that, yes, these properties and these PUDs do request multiple variances because it just doesn't fit with what that high-density requirements provide or present. So I'm very interested in this project. It's unique. It is interesting. That's pretty much my barometer for some of these newer projects. They better be interesting. They better be unique. They better fit what the site requires. I don't want to see another 5-story building that just takes up space and services only the property or the building owner. So this would be something that would be unique for the residents. I do see that there are some residential properties abutting this, and that this, so I guess I do have a question for the property owners, if you could come up, please, through the chair to the property owners. So would you be willing to let the local residents, is it only for residents to use some of these amenities, is my question. When you have movie nights, would you be open to having some of the community come in? And I'm asking that because I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not interested in just having things come up and not have local people come on in. So I'm asking it with I'm kind of baiting you. But would you be willing to be open to that?
So if you say yes, she'll vote yes.
Yeah.
She wants a free movie.
Yes.
She's going for
I don't necessarily, well, it's not, it's going to be free to the residents anyway, so what's the difference?
No, we feel very strongly of creating a community-type environment here. And, this is a gateway to the city as well, right? Coming up Mound Road is one of the main thoroughfares, and 14 Mile is obviously the start of the city. So we feel that we're beautifying that space, and if we can attract the right type of people that come in there and utilize the space and utilize the park and other things like that, if it doesn't become a hindrance to our residents and such, we're definitely open to that. And I think it's something that we're willing to experiment with and try it out. And if we can feel that it still provides for a safe and secure space for our residents and doesn't, exempt our residents from using that space because it's always full, then I feel as though,
Right.
it would be a great space for many of the neighborhoods and residents of the city.
And I'm not asking you to let this be an open park and saying, come on in, all the neighbors and people from downriver and everywhere else to come, but it's a community building for the local neighbors. I think that it's important to, whenever there's a new development, to incorporate the local community and to at least your immediate neighbors, to try to bring them in. It certainly creates goodwill, and it's important to have them buy in. And then you have some stakeholders that are local, as opposed to just having this all be just your residents. So just a thought, but I appreciate your input, and I thank you for that. So yes, go ahead. Oh, did you want to say something, Amir? Yes, go ahead.
It is a fantastic idea, and I would like to build upon that idea. I'm thinking that a movie night for the residents of Sterling Heights would be of great value. I would love to bring an urban air tent and pass out giveaways for urban air residents to access the park as well. So
And
I love the idea.
Yeah, and I agree that community building is not easy. And it's not just, oh, sure, it's urban air, so we'll just give them tickets, because it's not just about a business, it's about community. And so it is not something that you just do blindly or with just a glib idea. So it is important to understand that when you build communities, you're building not just a onesie-twosie idea, and you need to continue to build on that. So I appreciate your input on that, so thank you. So yes, I'm interested in this, and I think it's got some great potential. So I'm going to vote yes on this for today. So thank you, Mayor Taylor.
Thank you, Mrs. Sarowski. Mrs. Schmidt.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I do have a few questions to our city planning department. I'm looking at the landscape plan. So I'm looking at the dumpster location. It bothers me that it's 10 feet from a residential property. Is there any other place, or is there a wall, or what is the screening between the residential property and those dumpsters?
Yes, so there will be a 10-foot landscape. I wonder if it'd be helpful if we pull it up on the screen. Give me 1 second. So these are the two dumpster locations that you're referring to. We have one right here in the upper left corner, and then the upper right corner on the northern portion of the site. And so there will be landscaping that will be behind the dumpster enclosures, but then they will also have to be like masonry, so they'll be enclosed dumpster areas.
Okay, and there's no other location away from residential that those dumpsters could be located? I guess through the chair to the petitioner?
Come on up if you're.
We played around with that option multiple times with our landscape designer and our civil engineer. Because of the large density, it is a pretty tight site, and we do have another dumpster location to the east of the reflection pond that services building number 1 as well. Yep, right in that area. So originally, we had the dumpster locations closer to the 14-mile side, opposite of where they are now. But we had a lot of pushback that, you don't want to see dumpsters necessarily from the road either. So, unfortunately, a lot of our property neighbors, either single-family residential or a major road. So we don't have a lot of different opportunities to place those dumpsters otherwise.
How about on the west side of the property between the two buildings, or the two sets of buildings?
So that is a community space that we actually have in between.
But on the west property line? Or the
Farther
tree
over.
line? Yep.
We're willing to do it there. Again, that is single-family zoning next door as well, so eventually there would be potentially residential,
But
single-family.
those residents would know those dumpsters are there when they
Sure.
purchase those lots. That's a concern that I have. If the dumpsters stay where they are, you know, are you willing to set with whoever your trash hauler is that, you know, there are specific hours that they can come and pick up trash and not 6 AM?
Absolutely, that's not an issue at all.
I mean, in all fairness to those residents, you know, I think, you know, we've had other issues in other parts of the city where, you know, trash haulers will come at ungodly hours and that abut residential, and it's not fair. So I would just
Understood.
ask for your consideration there. Let's see, as far as, so there's no RV parking, you eliminated those spaces. Does that mean that you're also eliminating the possibility of anyone parking in regular spaces with trailers or anything like that?
Yes, that's expressly forbidden via our PUD agreement.
Okay, and as far as visiting parking, what have you allowed for that, since you have not much parking on your occupants?
Great question, Mrs. Smith. I like the way you think. So there's 251 parking spaces on the parcel. What we've allocated in our parking calculation is 2 spaces for the 2-bedroom apartments, 1.5 space for the 1-bedroom apartment, and 1 space for the studios or the micro units, which leaves us with a total of 26 additional parking spaces for guests.
Okay,
We do not even believe that the 1-bedroom apartments are going to require 1.5 spaces, so that should free up additional spaces for our guests that are visiting and staying overnight. But with the amount of units that we have, and with the trend of many riders, especially the ones that will be commuting among the Van Dyke and the Mount Corridor, rideshare would be an option for them as well. And if they are within the city of Sterling Heights, within those 2 corridors, maybe owning a car would not even be financially of a benefit to them. In addition to, I loved what I heard about the smart flex system. So that is definitely something that we could utilize, and we can partner up with Smart to allow a possibility of a rideshare stop at Icon Park residents to service Smart Flex as well. So I didn't even know that that product existed till today. So there was tons of benefit from listening to that presentation.
okay.
And I hope those answers your question.
It does, thank you. And speaking of the studio or micro, that's the new word for a studio apartment, I guess. Do you have a limit of the occupancy in those apartments?
There's no limitation that Randy and I have discussed, but based on what we heard from the city council meeting today, I think it will be a great idea to set a limitation on how many can occupy the studio. And if I were to guess, without talking to my business partner, that number would be 2 people.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question is to our planning department as well. I'm looking at the Mound Road ingress egress. And it's actually at the beginning of the formation of that right turn lane. Is that I think that's what I'm looking at. Is that what I'm looking at?
I believe so. I'm not 100% certain if that's the beginning of the right turn
I'm on
lane.
page 41 of our packet.
Or you can use this as well. It's right there.
Right there, right?
Yeah,
Southern part of the right turn on Mound, right?
right there, yes, right there, where your arrow is.
So is that a full right turn lane there yet? Or is it just a partial, the beginning of the right turn lane?
I'm not aware of that at this time, if it's a partial right turn lane or if it is a full right turn lane, but I can find that information out for you.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. I have nothing further, thanks.
You can leave the layout up, too.
All right, council, anyone else? Mr. Radke.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You guys can sit down for a second before we call you back. I am very impressed with this project. I think this is what people are looking to live in these days. Now, if you drive down 16 Mile in Troy, there is, I think it's Phoenix, I think is what it's called, right on 16 Mile Road. So the idea that you can't build an apartment complex with an urban style design on a large roadway is false, because that complex seems to be completely full. And what I also like about this, this design plan is you've provided tremendous amenities. So through the chair to our planning department, I was curious, do the amenities inside Building 1 that are the game room and the office center, do those count toward the recreation space that we calculate?
Not currently,
not
no.
currently.
So we're just looking at the outdoor recreation space.
Because one thing I really like about this project is the amenities. Because so often we see apartment complexes and other things come before us with almost nothing for tenants to do. They're basically trapped within the walls of their own unit. This kind of creates a larger plan. The reflection pond is interesting. I've not seen one like that before, but I think it's going to become a very interesting communal space for people to kind of gather around. I have a few questions. Looking at this layout on the screen, I'm curious why there isn't a walkway on the northern part of Building 1 from Mound Road. It seems like it'd be a long walk to go all the way down to the connecting walkway at the bottom. And I think residents are just going to walk across that open roadway. So I was hoping, if you guys would be willing to do it, extend the sidewalk to the road. So if people have a place to walk, so they're not getting through the chair to the petitioner, would you be willing to do that for us? Just so that people have a place to walk, so they're not dodging cars.
I think that's a great recommendation and definitely something we would be adding to the
Something I
project.
noticed. I also wanted to ask, I read with interest the meetings of the Planning Commission. You know, this development on a major corridor with very few neighbors, I'm wondering why you guys didn't go up. I mean, you have the opportunity, in my opinion, to build a larger, more urban-style development. I think this is tremendous. Was there ever any thought of maybe adding a story or even going further? Because this will be like Councilwoman Zarco said, like, I've lived here for 25 years, and that corner has always looked horrible. And this is going to become a gateway to our city, and I think it's going to become a project people are going to look to, the new standard in Sterling Heights. So I'm curious, why not build up? Why not build bigger? Is it a matter of parking, or is it just a matter of site, or?
Parking is definitely a major consideration that we had, but secondly, we wanted to be conscientious of our neighboring, we do abut single-family residential, and as a resident, I wouldn't want necessarily a 5-story building directly next to me in the city. So we wanted to be conscientious of the neighbors, and again, we felt like we're a transitionary space between Mound Road and the commercial space to the east and the residential to the west. So we wanted to be conscientious of that and of our future neighbors, and we felt that this was a good, happy medium. We're asking for a slight variance and an additional story, but not going anything too crazy.
Well, I like that there's walkways throughout the site. It seems like everyone, and then some of them are a little bit confusing on our sketches, but I assume they're all going to be linked up, ADA compliant, so people can get around the site, exactly. There was mention of parallel parking in the plan. Is it still there? And if it is, could you refer me to where it's at? Right there?
Right there, yeah.
Right there in the northern
There
section of the site?
and the northeast side of our.
Because that's kind of new to Sterling Heights, but as someone who went to school in Ann Arbor, it's not foreign to me. You parallel park wherever you go in that city. And one more comment I wanted to make is I appreciate your calculations on parking. I've been reading a lot of books about smart cities, and one thing they say is you should try to shoot for parking to be 80% occupied. If it's not 80% occupied, you're basically just creating space that don't even have cars. It's just empty space to hopefully one day store a car. And I think that we have a report coming soon, or we did before Mr. McLeod left, that was going to discuss maybe lessening the parking requirements, especially in commercial and multifamily districts. And I think that that report is long overdue, because right now, a lot of these places have too much parking. And I think that you guys are striking a happy medium. And it's fun to have your guy but didn't know was there, sober cleaners come in and talk about it. I think this would be an excellent amenity for this nearby plaza. Talk about how plazas are empty these days. If you can walk out of your building and walk to a plaza, and maybe, I don't know if there's a Quiznos sub there anymore. There used to be.
There was a Big B that shut down. We just found another Big B.
Right, so like whatever's there, a coffee shop, it's gonna be a tremendous.
I love Big B.
A tremendous, tremendous commercial opportunity for them. They have people on their doorstep. Down the street is a little business district in Warren. I think it's gonna be a tremendous amenity for them, including Coonan's Brewery, which is one of my favorite places right down there. I am really strongly in favor of this project. I think we have developers we'll work with. One more thing, I'm sorry, I wrote it down here. Mrs. Schmidt makes a good point. I had concerns about the southern buildings and how they'd get to the dumpster, because it seems like it'd be a long walk, with trash. I complain, I live in a condo, I complain about walking like just over there, the dumpster, it seems like a long walk across the site. If we could bring a dumpster down for those buildings 4 and 5, I think I would be, up to you guys, obviously, but I think it would be a lot better for the residents too. And that's all I have right now, Mr. Mayor, but like Mrs. Zarko, I reserve the right to speak again.
Okay. Hopefully, we don't need it. Anyone else? Mrs. Koski?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through the chair to our petitioners, a couple questions for you. I lived in the area for 30-plus years. Kids went to Harwood. Stober Cleaners was our cleaners. Used the bank on the corner. So I know the property pretty well. I have a problem with a couple of things, but we'll start out with, you said pet-friendly. I'm assuming you're talking about dogs, correct?
Correct.
What provisions will you have there for the dogs?
There would be a maximum weight limit, breed type, as well as quantity of dogs per apartment that would be mandated in our rental agreements.
So if there's 2 people, 2 dogs.
Yes.
What about kitties?
That's a great question. We haven't thought about a mandate in terms of cats, but typically they don't cause as much ruckus or noise, I would assume. But that is something we're definitely willing to be considerate of and be flexible with.
Okay, so you will set a limit as to how many animals per unit?
Absolutely. As the landlord and developers as well, it's to our benefit not to have large animals that would potentially deteriorate the units as well. So it's something that we're cognizant of.
It could get kind of smelly, too.
Sure.
Will you have any kind of a park there for them, or walkways? This is where you take your dog for your evening walk or morning walk or whatever it is, or an area where would be kind of like a dog park where they're fenced in?
So we weren't anticipating a dog park, but I actually lived in the Aberdeen condominiums at just south of 59 off of Mound in Sterling Heights, and throughout the complex they had dog, I don't know what you call them, baggies or whatever that were around in little podiums so that homeowners could clean up after themselves, or after their dogs, I should say. So that is something that we were anticipating and putting into the complex. Never know.
Whatever needs.
So you said the studio or the micro units you will allow maximum 2 people,
At the most.
and then your 1-bedroom,
2 people as well.
2-bedroom?
I would say 4 people at this time.
Okay. I have a problem with the units being so close together. When I say the units, the buildings being so close together. I was looking at your photo here. One down here in the corner, where you're showing benches or couches. You have your flower beds. You're placing these not in front of the windows, but to the side. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The windows look like they're quite low to the ground. Do they open?
Yes, they do.
What kind of covering will they have? Are you going to have shades on all of them? Are you going to have curtains on them? Because I sure wouldn't want to be in my living room and then have somebody sitting right outside there kind of looking in.
Yeah, these are slider windows, so they don't open into the courtyard at all. So they just slide left and right, first of all. And second, they will be equipped with blinds on all of our windows so that there is privacy opportunities.
Well, the resident be able to have the curtains open or the blinds open at any time? Or is that just, if somebody's out there and you want privacy, close your blind kind of thing?
Yeah, retractable blinds.
How much space is there in that corridor there?
There's 22.5 feet in width and 100 feet in length.
The 22 feet, how close are those benches going to be to the building?
I don't know the exact number off the top of our head, but we were anticipating keeping them off of the building by a few feet to the back of the benches, and then the benches would face into the courtyard. So if somebody was sitting on the bench, they'd be looking into the courtyard, not into the building behind them.
Will you have any rules such as no smoking, no vaping in that area? Or is that going to be something that you haven't even thought about?
That is to be determined. We have not thought that far into that, rules of that space.
Okay. The micro units, the studio, I have a problem with those. I grew up in a very small post-war house with 3 sisters, 2 bedrooms. I'm looking at your studio unit. Can you tell me exactly what's going to be located in there? I see a bed. I'm assuming that it's one of those fold-up beds.
Murphy.
Yeah, we're anticipating a Murphy bed, a kitchenette, a full bathroom, and a stackable washer and dryer in a laundry/linen closet. So these micro units are typically, first, we only have 28 out of the 140 units are micro, so there's a small percentage in general. And they are not for everyone. We understand that a lot of people are not going to be interested in that small of a unit. However, they are in line with or larger than many dorm rooms or senior facility spaces. So it's not uncommon for people to live within a 300 square foot space when there are other amenities and other spaces that they can go into within our development. So that's, we feel pretty strongly that they are going to be very desirable, and those are going to be some of the first units that are going to be rented out.
Stove, refrigerator,
Yeah, full kitchenette,
full kitchen.
yes.
I'm having a hard time with this. It's a great idea. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom is fine, but the studio apartments are not something, they give me chills. The closeness of the buildings with the large windows like that, I have a problem with that, lack of privacy. So at this point, I don't know which way I'm going to go on your project.
If you don't mind if I speak to that, Ms. Koski.
Sure.
Mrs. Koski, you know, when you have an apartment complex of 140 units, people that come and look at the units and this desire to live in this complex don't necessarily have to select a space that abuts the first floor of the boulevard. There's only roughly 6 units or 5 units per side that abut that boulevard on that first floor. So there's only 20 total units abutting a boulevard, a residence boulevard as we call it. So if somebody's okay with that and they choose to live in that space, that's their prerogative. That's how we feel about it. And if they are not comfortable being next to the public type space like that, they can choose another unit or wait until another unit opens up that doesn't abut to those residences. And similarly with those micro units, if it's not for your type of living, or if you feel that it's too tight or too small, or you may end up with cabin fever, then there's nobody requiring you to rent this space. But we are offering an opportunity that is unique in the city that allows somebody for a small amount of rent, considering what's out there in the market today, that we are providing opportunities that don't exist in the city right now. And for 28 units in the entire city to have a smaller space, I don't feel as though, personally, that's a lot to ask for. It's not an entire complex of micro units, but just to provide a taste of it and potentially experiment with that and see. We're experimenting with that as well as developers and see what that demand is. But from all of our research previously and what looks to be the future of not only high-density urban, but even suburban and semi-dense areas, that this is a very desirable space. And as Mr. Yarko said, the quantity of housing is limited. I'm a home builder myself, and one of the biggest challenges that we have in home building is finding developed land that's available to build on. We're providing 140 units in a small amount of space that can really help with fulfilling that housing need, especially in a city like Sterling Heights that's so desirable and one of the largest cities in the state.
You said that you're a builder. How many of these units have you built?
Typically, I'm a residential, a single-family residential building. This is my first multifamily development.
Okay. So you're a single family. How large are the lots? Do you do cluster development? Do you do condo projects? You said single family.
Single family, I don't develop the land. Typically, we buy parcels from developers or tear down properties in Birmingham or Bloomfield or Troy, Rochester Hills, different areas in the city. Lot sizes vary tremendously from, we've built on homes on 0.2 acres through 5-acre parcels. So it just depends on the parcel.
What do you find sells the best? How many square foot?
I'm a luxury home builder, so typically the homes that I build are larger. Most of the homes that I build are $1.5 million to $3 million in value. Our average square footage is 5,500 square feet for the home.
How many small ones have you built in your profession?
Earlier in my career, we actually did a development not too far from the Icon Park development, right off of 14 Mile between Ryan and Mound. It was an extension of an old existing neighborhood, Glengarry Circle. There was 1,500 square foot ranches and I believe 1,800 square foot split levels and 2,200 square foot colonials that we did back in like 2009 in that area, and they were selling pretty good even in a down, market back post
They're beautiful
recession.
homes. I've walked through there. They're beautiful homes.
Thank you.
Between Ryan and Mound, north side of 14 Mile Road,
Yes.
Harwood Elementary, right behind it.
Yeah, there's a church right behind it.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Very nice, beautiful homes. That's what I would like to see with this project. I just have a
Just a
hard
minor
time.
change.
I just have a hard time
get the
with
eraser.
the density. We worked so hard to get the right size house on the right size lot over the last 30 years here in this city. There was a lot of development going on in 89, 90, early 90s. And we tried to make it so that the house fit the lot, that you had your open spaces. And we were really.
And with all that development,
And now to see something where we're just cramming it so much into a small space. Beautiful design, everything is great, but I want to see more space. I want to see a little green. I want to see a couple trees. And I don't want to be looking into my neighbor's house, apartment. So that's where I'm having a hard problem.
a lot of this is based on affordability, right? If you want a lot of land with a lot of green space and things of that sort, typically it's very difficult or challenging to get that at $850 or $1,200 a month. Typically a home in Sterling Heights rents for much higher than that. So this provides an alternative to those people that can afford a large home on a large lot, but rather want to be in the city because it's close to their work environment, family, or friends. And we're not trying to fulfill the need for every single person that wants to live in Sterling Heights, but those that want to be able to rent a space, whether it's temporary or short term, and be in the city. And those are the types of people that we are looking to assist and provide housing for. And you mentioned, back in the 80s and 90s and even 2000s, a lot of development was happening in the city of Sterling Heights, single-family residential and multifamily. But over all those years, nothing's happened on this parcel. It's been sitting vacant for many, many years. And we feel as though this is a feasible project for that property. To bring in single-family residential abutting or getting close to Mountain Road like that is a little bit challenging for desirability when you're talking about selling property, selling homes. So we felt that as bringing a multifamily rental type, where it's transitory or temporary for many of these residents, is a great use for this space.
South Lawn has some beautiful homes, and so does North Lawn.
Ms. Koski, I would like to compliment also some of the thoughts and ideas that were brought up today by some of the folks from the city, and one of them was cabin fever. How do we deal with cabin fever if we are in a smaller confined area? We took that into consideration when we developed the design of Icon Park. We provided a congregational area, both indoor and outdoor. So in the event that somebody does feel cabin fever and it is cold outside, they can enjoy the lounge that we have at the clubhouse. There's going to be a fireplace in the lounge. There's going to be a TV in the lounge. They can congregate and they can exchange ideas with others that are in the lounge as well. They can meet new people through our lounge that is in the clubhouse. Also, if the weather is nice outside and allows them to sit outside, they do have all the outside amenities that they can enjoy. Residence Boulevard, which is the amenity that we have between the buildings, allows for somebody to walk outside of the building and to walk less than 100 feet around the building to get to Residence Boulevard, have a seat, and possibly congregate and enjoy the company of other residents that are living in the neighborhood. So I think the cabin fever thoughts that were brought today are valid for a development that does not have as many amenities as we have here in Icon Park. But with the amenities that we provide, if somebody wants to not congregate or meet other residents or sit through the amenities that the development will provide, that would be their personal choice. In addition to, if we look at some of the developments that's been happening in Sterling Heights, you are correct, especially the ones that happened in the 80s, 90s, and the early 2000s, mostly are single-family residences. But as a landlord in Sterling Heights today, it is very, very difficult to find a single-family home that's in good shape for under $2,000 a month. For many, that price point could be detrimental to their budget. They're not going to be able to come to the city for that particular reason. So what we're providing is we're providing a gateway, an opportunity for somebody to come and live in Sterling Heights, enjoy smaller spaces at less per square foot for rent per space, and be able to live in this community, work in this particular community. Many of us know people that may live with somebody else as roommates, not by choice, but because they have to for financial reasons. They prefer to live by themselves. They prefer to have their own privacy, but they can't do that because of financial constraints. Our micro unit, some way, will provide relief to those that are looking for a place to live in a reputable city like Sterling Heights for under $1,000 a month.
I hear you. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Koski. Mr. Yanez, anything?
Sure do, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for recognizing me. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming tonight. I have a couple questions. So first of all, I have to say, and maybe we can talk this out, the reflection pond is a non-starter for me. You don't even know how deep it's going to be, 6 to 12 inches. You can drown in 6 inches of water. And there will be kids in this apartment complex. There will be kids from the neighborhood coming over to the apartment complex. There is a playscape just literally feet away from this reflection pond, which some people may see as a pool. through the chair to the city attorney, would this be considered an attractive nuisance? Potentially?
Mr. Koszybski.
Generally, Councilman Yanez, a attractive nuisance would be something that would be unsecured or otherwise wouldn't be patrolled or able to be controlled because of vacancy. So if somebody was to have an open construction site, for example, with a big pit, and it was not secured and there was nobody around to secure it, that would be your attractive nuisance. This would be an amenity that, at least according to the petitioner, appears to will have 24-hour surveillance and people living on site. So it wouldn't be considered an attractive nuisance, no.
Gentlemen, is there any kind of fencing or anything around this reflection pond?
So one of the items that was brought by the Planning Commission is this reflective pond going to have a fence around it or not? The answer to that during Planning Commission was we prefer not to have a fence on it. And Planning Commission has agreed to that because in the event that there is a fence around it, there will be, this pond will not be considered part of the recreational amenities that this development will offer. So what we did is we went back to engineering and said, we do not want to use this pond as a detention basin, just like most detention basins that you find in many of the subdivisions in the city, as well as the developments in the city, because of the depth concerns that we have for safety purposes. So engineering redid our entire sewage plans, and we submitted a copy of those plans to Planning Commission or to the city planner before this particular meeting. That what we decided to do is to go underground, detain the water underneath the actual reflective pond, and make the pond shallow enough so it's no longer a concern and could be looked at just like any pond or any fountain that you find in a shopping mall such as Somerset or in a shopping mall such as Lakeside or Partridge Creek. All of those malls have a fountain that's shallow enough with tons of children running around and using it as a pool. In fact, I've seen it with my own eyes, and my kids have done it as well. So we don't feel that we're bringing something that's out of the ordinary that's not already in the city in many places, including parks.
And Mr. Mayor, through the chair to, I guess, Mr. Vanderpool, because I don't know who else to ask. Do you know of, or can someone in the city that's present tonight tell us if we have any other facilities, apartment complexes, what have you, that have a reflection pond?
Mr. Vanderpool.
It's okay if you don't.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Yanez, there are areas of the city where there are ponds and the like. I'm looking at one right now at the corner of 14 and Van Dyke, Sterling Ponds, right in front of the Walmart Center. There are areas like this across the city. I believe Lakeside Mall does have a reflective pond of some sort, or they did. And I don't think that's fenced off.
You mean inside the mall?
Inside.
Okay.
Right. But the fundamental concern would be the same. But I'd have to give that some thought. I can certainly report back to council on some other similar locations that we can take a look at. But, if you think across the country, there's reflective ponds everywhere. We're just shared a note of the mall in D.C., that it's incredibly long. I think it's probably at least a foot deep. So, you do have these amenities in communities across the country.
And thank you, Mr. Vanderpool. And gentlemen, you do expect children to live in this project, right? Okay. It also says in my notes here that one of the things you're asking for is to replace the cement block, 6-foot cement block wall with vinyl fencing. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And is that through that's the entire property line that goes all the way from Foss down to Stober and to Metro Parkway? I'm sorry, Mound Road?
Yeah, this is abutting, correct me if I'm wrong, abutting the sober cleaner, northern property lines, abutting sober cleaner, although we do have a walkway between the two, our site and the Stober Plaza site. There is a walkway, a connectivity point in between the fence, but yes.
So up where we're looking at the two dumpsters, that's going to be vinyl fencing? The whole thing is going to be vinyl fencing?
To simplify this landscape plan, vinyl fencing of 6 feet will be where the parallel parking is. So, yep, all the way around the corner, and then when that 10-foot green belt starts, we're actually using landscape fencing instead of vinyl fencing to go all the way across the dumpster wall, all the way to the corner to the west, and then from here, all the way down, we're using a 6-foot abreviate type or evergreen that we are going to line up the west side of the property. That's going to be heavily landscaped and heavily dense with that 10-foot green belt.
So what's landscape fencing?
Not landscape fencing, but a landscape buffer, if you will. It's going to be out of evergreen landscape.
Okay, so there will be no wall
No wall.
there. And there's two houses there, right, on Foss, so that backs up to two homes? Is that correct?
Yeah, those are two homes. The dumpsters are.
There is fencing near those homes where the arrow is pointing at. Yeah.
This will have all fencing.
Where the homes abutting the home, or the property, there is vinyl fencing.
But, yeah, it'll be, okay, so it'll all be vinyl, okay. There's no cinder block is what we're talking about.
No cinder block.
Is there a reason why you don't want to use cinder block other than it costs more than vinyl fencing?
It's not an appealing look at all, and it feels like it's a confining space versus a landscaping buffer, which is natural and more beautiful and still provides screening as well as a barrier between the spaces.
All right. And then you're looking at, it says here that you wanted variance, whatever we're calling it, of 35 trees instead of 50 trees in the parking lot. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So is there, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just want to update that count. I actually sent a tree table over to planning. It was just not updated on the presentation. We have a total of 47 trees in the parking lot.
47.
47.
Okay. Make a note of that. And then I'm just going to say, the 300 square foot, units, let the market decide, honest to goodness. Somebody wants to rent it, somebody doesn't want to rent it, somebody feels like they're forced to go into it. The market will determine whether people are going to rent those apartments or not, and if they don't, you'll have to figure something else out. My guess is those will get rented out. But we'll let the market decide. I have a real problem with this reflection pond. I just think it's the potential for it, for danger is there. There's no fencing or anything around it. Everybody loves water. Everybody loves sitting near the water, and it's calming and relaxing. It is a potential hazard when it's literally feet away from a kid's playscape. And, who knows, on a hot summer night, everybody's out playing, one of the kids wanders off and, something bad happens. And I don't think it's worth it. I don't think that reflection pond is worth scrapping this entire project. But I'm not going to support it as long as that pond is in there.
Mr. Yanis, can I speak to that?
Yeah.
In general, in Sterling Heights and in many communities in the area, most subdivisions now require retention ponds or things like that. To that note, I grew up on Pondview on 18 Mile between Ryan and DeQuinder, and there was multiple ponds within the subdivision that you would ice skate on in the wintertime, and you would fish. People would be fishing there during the summertime, and kids and adults and everybody would be utilizing that space, which were many, many feet deep. in a residential community near Delia Park, abutting Delia Park, which attracts many, many children. This is not a unique or an out-of-the-box scenario. It's a unique amenity to our development, which Mr. Horowski said was important for developments to have unique amenities and such to bring to the table. But we don't feel that this is something that's out of the ordinary. In fact, in the city of Birmingham, in their central plaza off of Merrill, they have a large fountain / reflecting pond that is filled with water all the time, and kids are literally next to the play set, and kids are jumping around there and such. Ultimately, it's the parents' responsibility to watch over their children and such, but we do have camera surveillance and things to monitor if necessary. But we feel as though most people in the neighborhood, especially those with small children, would find this to be a beautiful amenity in addition to their lifestyle rather than a concern or a detriment. That's what I have to say about that.
Okay. I appreciate you, gentlemen. Mr. Najjar, you know I've been to one of your construction projects. You do incredible work. I will say that. I'm also a family friend of your father, so I'm not saying that because I'm a family friend. And I do want to disclose that as well, that I've known the Najjar family for more than a decade. But this is business, and I have my concerns, and I think you've heard them. I appreciate you addressing them. I think that's all I have for right now, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. I am 100% in support of this. I think it's a great project. I think if we turn it down, shame on us, okay? We've had a number of apartment and residential developments come to us over the course of the last 8 or 9 months. This is towards the top in terms of its appeal, curb appeal, architecture, design, the amenities, the unique nature of the development. I think it's a home run. I really do. I like the reflective pool. I like the way the buildings are close to each other with those walkways. I like the gaming, the fitness room and the clubhouse and everything that has to offer. I like the location here. I think this is going to be great. I hear people come up, and even some people on this city council, saying, you know, I would never live in a 300 square foot unit. Okay, don't buy it. It's simple. You, Mr. Zanoy, you don't want to live in a 300 square foot building? Okay, don't buy it. I mean, nobody's forcing you to go live in the Icon Park, right? Nobody. So what, I mean, personally,
Point of order, Mr.
Yeah,
Mayor.
Mr. Zanoy, you come up here and you talk, we listen, and I can talk back. Okay? That's the way it works. You know, if you want to come up here and make public comments on TV at a public meeting, then you better be ready to have somebody respond to you, okay? I just don't understand this mentality that, well, Sterling Heights is a place where we've got single-family residential houses on 60-foot by 120-foot lots, and that's where it's been since the Second World War, and that's the way it's going to be until the sun swallows the earth. No, we have to adapt with the times. We have to. I can tell you, my brother's about 15 years younger than me. He lives at the, I forget what it's called.
Griffin.
The Griffin in Royal Oak, right? He's got a tiny little apartment. It's bigger than the micro units, but it's tiny. It's from what I'm used to. But they've got, like you said, this big clubhouse area. They got pool tables. They got shuffleboard. They got a pool outside. They've got bocce ball. They got all these different amenities for the people. And so it doesn't feel like you're closed in all the time. They've got workspaces where people can go. And I've been there a few times, and it's not the common areas are not being used that much. So if you want to use them, they're pretty much always available to you. So this is, to me, what I think younger generations of people are going to want, and even not just younger generations of people. There's going to be a good mix of people from all different backgrounds that want to move into these units. And it's not our risk, it's yours, right? It's your risk. You guys are going to be putting out the money. You guys are going to be putting out the risk. It's your money on the line. So if you don't think that you're going to be able to rent these units, I don't think you'd be here asking for us to approve them. I just think that this is such a unique development. It's in a great area of the city where we could use something, as several people here have said. It's that corner has been underutilized for a long time. I appreciate your response that you want to have a transitional use from the commercial on Van Dyke, the industrial on east side of Mound, the residential as you move west. I think this is a great transitional use. I think it was interesting, sir, that you came up here to negotiate a sale of the purchase of the property. I don't think we've had that happen before. That was kind of new. No, you can't right now, sorry. I've got my gavel, sold, But I can see why you don't, no, I'm sorry. No, sir, I can't have you talking. So I can see why they want to buy it. I really can. I think this is a great piece of property. I think it's a great use you have here. There's a huge, as Ms. Zarko said, huge housing demand right now. And what I really appreciate is that we've talked for years about being a welcoming city, being a vibrant city, being distinctive and unique, and having spaces where people can live, recreate in a unique way that we don't have available right now. And so this, I think, is going to give that person the ability to live here that might otherwise not have been able to. I personally, I can tell you, I've with a house full of kids and dogs and animals and big yard and all that, sometimes you get into like a hotel room and you're like, oh, and when you're all alone, right? You're like, oh, this feels nice. I could live here forever. And that's what I think. I think a lot of people feel that way. They don't need a lot of space. They don't need the upkeep. They don't need the maintenance. They don't need room after room after room. Where do you really go when you're home, So I think that this is great. I'm really in support of it. I'm hoping that it gets passed tonight. And that's really all I have to say. So, I'll say, Counselor, if there's anything that you missed the first time around, you want to just clean up, we'll do a quick.
She's ready.
Mrs. Zarko.
Not about this project, but you brought up something that is going to make a difference probably between now and the time we go to convention and come back. Because there's going to be discussion about, they're called pattern book homes. And when you said these are homes like from World War II, which is exactly what they're modeled after, and they are for little parcels that can't be developed any other way, and they're multifamily. They would look similar to some of the homes in Detroit or into Hamtramck, where when you look at the house, you think it's a single-family residence, but there are actually two families living there. So maybe not tonight, but as long as we're talking about housing, that's something that we're all going to be talking about soon, because we're going to prepare ourselves for the opportunity to make that move forward too. Nothing further.
Mr. Radke.
Just really briefly, something I didn't mention in my first speech was I lived in what we called an efficiency. Now you guys call it a micro unit, but it's the same idea. In London, when I attended the London School of Economics, and it was just a full-size bed, full kitchenette, desk area, bathroom, and a little teeny table. And we had amenities in our building. We had the basement was set up as a room where people could watch TV or have conversations or eat together or do different things. And I never felt constricted. I live in the city of London, so there's lots of stuff to do, but I never felt constricted in this area. And I just think people got to expand their minds a little bit to think that there are different ways to live and people want to live in different environments. Not everything's a $500,000 home on a huge plot of land in Sterling Heights. I think we have to have room for every set. And to your reflecting pond, there are plenty of subdivisions in Sterling Heights that have ponds, water features. There are houses right out here that back up to the Clinton River. Children can fall into ditches, they can drown. I think that we are almost becoming so no to everything. A reflection pond, I think it's a great idea, and it's interesting, and it's something different. And at the end of the day, I don't understand why we are being so restrictive to prevent people from building their vision. And obviously, like the mayor said, you're taking the risk. But I think you're going to have a waiting list. I think this is going to become the development in Sterling Heights. I think you guys are going to do very well. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Radke. Mrs. Schmidt.
I'll be very short. First of all, I hope you reconsider the dumpster relocation, because that kind of sticks in my craw a little bit. And as far as your reflection pond, maybe consider pickleball courts, because you could definitely, as much as pickleball has caught on, I'm sure they would be just as busy as a reflection pond, and that would help Mr. Yanes. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mrs. Schmidt. My dad thanks you, too. Anyone else? If not, Mrs. Riska, can we have a roll call vote?
Absolutely. Mrs. Sarowski?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Yanes?
No.
Mrs. Yarko?
Yes.
Mrs. Kosky?
No.
Mr. Radke?
Yes.
Mrs. Schmidt?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2. You've won. Congratulations. Good luck. We're looking forward to it. I know I am at least. We can't wait to see how it goes. So
And please keep the brochure, give them to your friends.
you
Let them
got
know
it.
we're coming.
Thank you.
Movie night, we're coming to movie night.
I'm going to be coming for one of those studio micro units, so somewhere to get away from.
Kids and dogs.
You don't got enough
Yeah.
rooms, Mike?
I don't, not enough. Okay, thank you very much. So the time right now is 9:43. And per our council rules, we take communications from citizens at 9:30 or as soon as we can after a agenda item is finished. So we're going to skip the consent agenda and consideration 9A and move right into communications from citizens. So is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on any item not on tonight's agenda? I'll take you first, miss.
Good evening. I'm a resident of Sterling Heights, and I would like to recommend that all Sterling Heights and all residents who live in Macomb County to vote on November 8th, yes, for the special needs bond. It helps all children from ages born, from birth to 26. It helps them with disabilities with hearing, emotional impairment, cognitive impairment, physical impairments, special needs, such as speech, language, visible impairment, and brain injury. And I hope everyone votes yes, because at the end of the day, these children are born with a harder time than everyone else, and they need the extra love and attention. And if you help them grow, they become more independent, which means in the future, as they become adults, they're less needing the federal government to assist them. If they still need the federal government to assist them, that's great. That's what the federal government, that's what Social Security is here for. But right now, as the children are young, it's the best time for them to grow and improve themselves. Speech, until the age of 12, is when they can talk. So from born until they're 12, it's the best time. The more resources they get, the better chances they get to be productive members of society. This bond only costs 5 cents a day, and each household only contributes $20 a year. So I really hope that everyone in Macomb County votes yes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else under communications from citizens? Mr. Russo.
Giulio Russo. We sat here for an hour listening to you guys micromanage what should have been sent to you from a planning commission that's supposed to know all the rules, scrutinize the whole plan, and you guys have to do all the legwork for these guys to have to go through all this here. It's kind of unusual. The only reason I'm here tonight is to correct what I was attacked from our city manager, with not one of you to do anything about it. We sat here and listened to Mr. Taylor say what coffee is the best one in Sterling Heights. I sure wish I don't have a coffee shop that was at the bottom of his list. Didn't think that was too appropriate. And then I got Mr. Vanderpool shooting down my business to a 66-year-old that's lived here all his life, has had many businesses, including a union company that hired 45 employees in Sterling Heights, okay? I've come from a family that's done nothing but business. I live in a neighborhood that my parents and I have done, and my brother-in-law have improved the whole little square that you guys don't even care about, okay? You nitpick some flags and put up a story that it wasn't even, it didn't have hardly any factual comments to it, okay? How this all started was flags were okay to put up in the front of your business, okay? And everyone knew this. So that's why the feather flag became popular. So I'm trying to make a business. I'm not one of these, I'm aggressive like this gentleman. I've built tons of stuff. And I know what I'm doing. And whatever business I get into, whatever it takes me to do to be a success, to pay my taxes, to not be a failure in your community and mine, I'll do whatever it takes. So we were shot down with the feather flags. We turned around and he conveniently said, come to my office. Me and my wife went to his office. He had Mr. Koschutsky and I don't know, a couple other ones. He wouldn't bring Pat Willis in with it, but he brought his boss in, okay? And making innuendos like, oh, you would really like to get rid of Pat, okay? That wasn't the case. Put a sign up and have it digital. Only 20% of it could be digital. I'm going to spend $30,000 on a sign that only 20%, and then I got to have it come on. It has to be off and back on again. I can't do any kind of appropriate thing with a digital sign. But yeah, you go to Warren, it's not like that. You go to Utica, it's not like that. You go to Shelby, it's not like that. I want to know if any of you owned a business. You make all these decisions on businesses and how they should be and operate, but yet none of you have had a business. And an attorney's office is not a business. You don't have to try to get the person driving down Mount Road to come to your business.
All right, thank you, Mr. Russo. Anyone else under communications from citizens? Mr. Nelson?
Not going to talk about tonight, but I am going to talk about the need for our PUD system, and I'm glad I heard that there are no requirements whatsoever right now for somebody putting in for a PUD. A developer comes in, he's got this size of property. We're looking at if they can make money or not in what the product is that they're supplying to Sterling Heights, and we're going forward. You've got a bunch of PO'd people, Mr. Taylor. You deceived the people that abut the wedge. When you announced that that developer was withdrawing that was withdrawn to redevelop and make changes that you think would pass. They are some ticked off people, and that's going to start with the Planning Commission relook at now it's 2 4-story apartment buildings, and it's 4 commercial parcels. I have no idea how that's going to not be just stuffed right in there again. And you're going to hear a lot more from that when it comes back up to you. I don't know how you can do that. You flat deceived those people. They walked out of here thinking that all their hard work meant something. It did not. So, you know, I'll just wait. The rest of them, they're going to start at the Planning Commission. The other thing, I know you're hiring a planning and zoning consultant this evening. I don't know why. When I looked at the write-up, the staff write-up report to you on this last, it was definitely what you guys want, and you're going to tell Giffords-Webster what you want to hear. So I don't know why you even have to bother doing that. I think our planner 2 and our planner 1 are doing fine jobs. You're knowledgeable, and why spend the extra money to bring in somebody to just support your thoughts? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nelson. Anybody else under communications from citizens? Yes, sir.
I was Sanford Williams. The task report, it is going to be coming out, I believe, the 31st of October. I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. That's all.
Yep. And it will be. It will be, yep. Anyone else under communications from citizens? If not, I'll close that portion and we'll go back into the agenda and we'll go to the consent agenda. Is there anyone who'd like to speak on any item on tonight's consent agenda? If not, council, we need a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mrs. Koski.
move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is consideration of boards and commission appointments. We have a few different boards and commissions tonight. We'll start with the Arts Commission, or actually, I guess I need to go to the public. Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on this item? If not, so we have, first up is the Arts Commission. This is a council appointment to a partial term ending June 30th, 2025. Is there anyone who'd like to make that appointment?
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
resolve to appoint Lisa Stout to the Arts Commission to a term ending June 30th, 2025, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the Historical Commission. This is a council appointment to a partial term ending June 30th, 2024. Is there anyone on council who'd like to make that appointment?
Mayor Taylor,
Mrs. Zarko.
resolve to appoint Teresa M. Kroll to the Historical Commission to a term ending June 30th, 2024, subject to the appointee meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the Elected Officials Compensation Commission. There are 3 openings, 3 partial terms with different end dates. Madam Clerk, do you know when this commission meets? Do they meet in February of '23? I know I'm putting you on the spot. So they're going to meet even though we went from 2-year terms to 4-year terms, right? So they're going to come back and do their thing anyways. Okay. I've done this a few times before. I'm going to do it one more time with council's blessing. I'd like to postpone this. So if I delay this to the December 6th meeting, the first meeting in December, will that give them enough time to get sworn in, get up to speed, and then the meeting will be in February, right? Yes. Okay. So I'm going to ask for December. I'd like to, I guess we'll pass on this for right now and go to the Youth Advisory Board. Is there anyone who has any appointments to the Youth Advisory Board?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Radke.
let me just find the motion. Resolve to appoint Cameron Orjada and Sabria Chowdhury to the Youth Advisory Board to a term ending June 30th, 2023, subject to the appointees meeting the qualifications set forth in Charter subsection 4.03 and taking the oath of office within 2 weeks.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
They come highly recommended. They're going to do a great job.
Council, anyone else? No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So with the 3 elected officials compensation commission openings, I'd like to entertain a motion to postpone those items to the Tuesday, December 6th, 2022 city council meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported with no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. I believe that concludes that portion of our agenda tonight. We've already done communications from citizens, so we'll move on to reports from city administration. Mr. Vanderpool, anything for tonight?
Nothing further, Mayor.
And Mr. Williams is not here, but the marijuana task force report on schedule to be delivered October 31st or thereabouts. Will it be presented at a city council meeting? Will there be any public presentation?
Mayor, first we will submit the report to City Council as required by October 31st. And then it'll be up to City Council to determine if you want us to then present it publicly at a meeting in November. I would imagine you would, so we'd probably be looking at a second meeting in November presentation or first meeting in December. So that's kind of tentatively what I would envision. But you will have the final report on October 31st, and of course, it could be available to the public then as well.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Koszybski, anything tonight?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Council, any reports, new business? Mrs. Zarko.
Mayor Taylor, we were talking about the different proposals on the ballot. Just turn your ballot over because that's where they're all at. So if you're looking for them, just don't look at the front side of it. That's where all the proposals are. A couple of weeks ago, I went to the Macomb Business Awards, and I'm proud to say that 3 finalists for manufacturers were all from Sterling Heights. And AGS actually won the award. So that was, I thought, something we should really be proud of, although there were a lot of other businesses throughout the city that were nominated in different fields and categories. Let's see. I threw the chair to Mr. Vanderpool. Do you know if they're going to do an official ribbon cutting for the opening of the trail that's off 15 Mile that goes behind Freedom Hill?
Mr. Vanderpool?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Zarko, I don't have a definitive answer, but I hope to soon. I know they're still finishing up some punch list items, and I would imagine that they will have a ribbon cutting because they want to draw as much attention as possible to the new amenity. I know it, for those who have been using it, including yourself, it's a fantastic addition to our city. I look forward to making the loop. I know it's going to be incredibly popular, but I will report back to you in City Council as soon as we have a definitive date and time from the county.
I will say they've done a remarkable job. The surface is really good. If you have problems with your hips or your knees when you're walking, that's a surface to walk on because it's awesome. And more, at first I thought it was my private trail, and now it's getting busier and busier, people on bikes, walking their dogs, and it's great to see. And I did take a picture last week, and I sent it to the city manager, and if you look at the picture, you would never believe you're in Sterling Heights. You look like you're up north somewhere. So and I think the more people that know about it, more people are going to use it, and you won't have that fear of being in isolation on a trail that, is within the city. So I highly recommend you taking a trip over there. Some of the people that are using the trail are actually parking in the parking lot at Freedom Hill and then walking down and then walking back and forth because they're actually coming from another part of the city in order to do that. So needless to say, they're looking for a connector. But yes, it's nice, and they've done a great job. And like I said before, we'll be talking about the housing and the shortage of housing within the city. There's a plan that was presented at a press conference that MML sponsored a couple weeks ago. It's called Pattern Book Homes. And I'm hoping that we have pockets within the city where this becomes a reality, because I think it's something that we need to look at. Nothing further.
Thank you, Mrs. Zarko. Council, anyone else? Mr. Radke.
Oh, briefly, I was going to talk about pattern book homes too, Mrs. Zarko, so you've stolen my thunder twice. It's no worries. I think that what the MML has released with the pattern book homes is amazing. I grew up in a house in Detroit where there were many duplexes on my street. And you wouldn't know it from looking at them because they look like single-family homes. And I think that they would find willing neighbors here in Sterling Heights, and I honestly believe I'll wait till we get back from Muskegon, but I think we should amend our zoning ordinances to allow them in Sterling Heights. I think that they would be a tremendous addition to our neighborhoods. They would allow more residents on less land, and you wouldn't know that they were a duplex by looking at them, which is the whole point. They don't change the character of a neighborhood, they blend in. So I think those are amazing. Through the chair to the city manager, I'm glad that the marijuana task force report is coming back. When might we get the report on parking minimums, which we've talked about several times now? I'm hoping that that'll eventually come to our desk so we can take some action on that. Through the chair.
Mr. Vanderpool?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Radke, I knew you were going to ask that. I made a note in my notes from earlier. With the city planner departing, we're in a transition now. Needless to say, there's a delay, but I will get you an update. I know it's something you're interested in and other council members, so it is on our list of things to do. It's on the matrix that you get weekly, but we need to update the time frame there. So I'll report back to you.
Thank you. And then to Mrs. Sarowski's comments, we need to update our zoning and master plan updates. Every time we come to a meeting, we talk about all the things that need to get changed. And I recognized this last year. I brought it up at strategic planning. I brought it up at the budget process. I think that these several projects that have come before us have just demonstrated how out of whack our master plan and our zoning is with what the projects are coming forward now. RV parking, for example, we should eliminate it. No one's parking an RV in an apartment complex in Sterling Heights. The setbacks don't make sense. Even the ones that came before us today, they still have some setbacks. But a lot of these projects being built in Troy and Royal Oak and elsewhere almost have no setbacks. So why are we requiring them on Mound Road, of all places? There doesn't need to be a setback. Because if you go to Troy, there are restaurants right on 16 Mile. There are apartment complexes right on 16 Mile. We need to hire a consultant and bring our zoning and master plan into the 21st century. And it's not going to get done piecemeal. It's not going to get done when we finally get a planner. We need to hire consultants and update across the board our zoning and our planning to reduce parking minimums, to reduce lot size, to give people the opportunity to build what they want on land that they own. I get frustrated sitting up here when people are like, well, you only can do this or you only can do that. At the end of the day, let's let people build and experiment. Our city isn't going to fall apart. It's just going to grow and be stronger because other cities like Birmingham, like Royal Oak, like Ferndale, they've allowed this and they've gained residents and they've gained value. We can do it here too. And then finally, I just wanted to point out, some people were talking about it online. There's a pedestrian refuge island being built on 15 Mile Road just east of Van Dyke. And some folks had questions about that. And the city is building it because there have been 2 fatalities right there crossing from what are now the hotels on the north side of 15 Mile to the food and other amenities to the south side. People are like, why are we building it? Because 2 people have died. So I would not want to see another fatality on 15 Mile Road there. And the funny thing was, my younger brother, I had dinner at my dad's the other day, and he asked me about it. He says, well, why are we building that there? And I said, it's a pedestrian refuge. People have been hit. He goes, oh yeah. When I went to Carlton, we used to cut across the street there all the time. So it shows you the need. And hopefully through the chair to Mr. Vanderpool, we're going to have a traffic study done to kind of identify places that also have dangerous pedestrian crossings and correct them. Am I right, Mr. Vanderpool?
Mr. Vanderpool?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Radke, yes, you're correct. There's about 3 areas right now under study. Actually, the studies are complete. We're just reviewing the results and recommendations from the consultants. One is Utica Road, Dodge Park Road by Stevenson, Henry Ford High School study there, and also Riverland. There's going to be improvements in all three of those areas, but you'll be getting a report and update on that very soon.
Excellent. With that being said, I'm firmly in support of the transit ordinance. Everything I hear from our corporate partners at Stellantis, at BAE, at all them, they are strongly in support of transit. They realize that it creates jobs. And as someone who lives very near 15 Mile and Van Dyke, if you watch the bus at the changeover, 2 p.m., there's a ton of employees who are getting off the bus right there and going right to work. So the idea that people don't ride transit is belied by all the people waiting for transit on Van Dyke. I wish we could expand it because it's such a driver for jobs. And so I firmly support it, and I urge the residents to firmly support it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Radke.
Mayor
Mrs.
Taylor.
Schmidt?
Quickly, I just want to remind everyone that our next city council meeting is actually going to be on Monday, October the 17th. The majority of council are attending the MML convention in Muskegon, so we adjusted our schedule a few meetings back, and I just wanted to let the public know that, and I have nothing further.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Yanis?
Yeah, just want to remind folks that this coming Sunday, the 9th, the fire department's having their open house at Fire Station Number 4. Everyone come on out. Hopefully we'll have good weather, cider and donuts, so will be provided. I was disappointed to find out that we no longer have a smoke trailer for the kids to go through, and I think that's something that city council really needs to take a look at when it comes to, buying one of those, and two, making sure that we provide health and safety, the health and safety education that the fire department's been providing since I was a child in elementary school, which was back when they used to give you a pen that it actually had a little pin and you'd stick yourself and it would hurt. Yeah. The other thing I want to bring up again, I appreciate last meeting, my apologies for not being here, but the city recognizing Hispanic Heritage Month. As you know, it's the last 2 weeks of September, first 2 weeks of October. On Saturday, October 15th, there is a Day of the Dead fiesta located in downtown Mount Clemens next to Anton Art Center. It's free to anyone. You can come on in. There'll be Hispanic art, food trucks, a number of vendors. It should be a great time. Hopefully we'll have great weather, and appreciate people coming out and just getting exposed a little bit to Hispanic culture. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I have nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Yanis. Mrs. Kosky?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder here, our Drug-Free Coalition is having a Vaping 101, a vaping town hall. It's going to be on October 19th at 6 p.m. at the community center. And it is to let parents know what this is all about. And our city attorney here is going to take part in that. Would you like to add anything to that?
Mr. Koszybski?
Thank you, Ms. Kosky. Yes, the Drug-Free Coalition is putting on their second annual now, Town Hall for Vaping 101. It's really geared to the parents of children to come in and take a look at what vaping is going on, what the statistics are showing, how to speak with their children about vaping, trying to get them to understand the dangers so that we can get into cessation. This last month, we had a really nice presentation at Sterling Heights High School with about 1,500 students, getting to hear about a gentleman who lost both lungs and had to have a lung transplant at a very young age because of vaping. So it's an epidemic in the schools, it's an epidemic in our community, and the Drug-Free Coalition is trying to fight that by educating everyone on the dangers. So we hope you can make it.
Thank you.
Mrs. Sarowski?
Thank you. So just to reiterate, most of us who have received our absentee ballot, or who have applied for absentee ballots, have received them. So please, as Ms. Ziarko has mentioned, please make sure that you vote the entire ballot. You flip over that ballot and you look at the proposals. It has been mentioned that transportation ballot or transportation millage. It's important. Those of us that do not have the ability to be as fully mobile as others really do need that transportation millage. So I'm asking you personally as a nurse and as a concerned citizen that you please consider voting for that and putting that millage renewal back on for all of the residents who need that mobility. Also, any other of those proposals that you seem to find the need to vote for, I please ask for you to consider those as well. And also, please be safe as we continue to go through this time on Mound Road. It is still pretty challenging. I've been up and down that road a few times the last couple of days, so it is still got some really unique and interesting on and off ramps as they change over those construction on changes, so please be careful onto that as well. And then I think that's all that I have. So thank you very much, Mayor Taylor.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate everybody for coming out tonight and participating in this meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Support.
Been moved and supported. No discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned. Good night, everyone.
Good night.